archaeology, which is going to be L. Curtis Boyle and Brian Wietzler and Paul Piscarelli. And then we'll have William Athing and Henry III Gernhardt doing the FujiNet for the Tandy. That'll be cool. And then Strick here is going to be doing his presentation on his thing he's going to talk about now. Hey, Strick.
Okay. All right. So for a project update, this is the first version I made. This is a 6309 based single board computer. Let's see, that one there is the 6309. And over here, we've got a Raspberry Pi Pico. This happens to be the W version that has the Wi-Fi on it. And then there's 8 support chips, which are, CMOS or TTL or something. And the idea is to have a single board computer with a vintage CPU and everything else modern and cheap. My current version is this. I went ahead and added a couple more Pi Picos to experiment with video output and other stuff. But I'm planning on the third version to being simplified and cleaned up. And it'd be wonderful if they were really cheap, like $15 to $30 or something, because Pi Pico is $5, the CPU is under $5, the support logic is under $2, the circuit board's $2 if you can get it all assembled then. So, and I will be talking about this more at 8 p.m. Eastern, which would be 7 p.m. Central on the virtual Tandy Fest that Mark has put together today, as well as you heard a bunch of others of us.
Not all me, I'm just the engineer.
Are doing things.
Awesome.
Right.
I look forward to that.
Oh, and so this current version, it used to run OS 9 level 1. Right now that has rotted. Right now it's running OS 9 level 2. It looks really nice. It's fast. And I want to get it doing Radio Shack Color Basics as well. And
you want 3 megahertz?
More of being an actual CoCo.
How fast are you clocking it?
Almost 2 megahertz, although it's
Almost.
irregular. I'll show you why tonight.
Teaser, have them come back for more.
Right?
Yeah, so for instance, the write cycles are faster than the read cycles. And if you're doing I/O, like talking to the ACIA, which is virtualized, which is being played by the Pi Pico, just like the RAM and the ROM and the clock are, then it takes a little longer to do its stuff. And so we just delay the cycle a little bit.
Cool. Look forward to watching that. I'll probably have a lot of dumb questions.
That'll be great, Curtis.
As we all.
Okay. Who's next?
Bueller?
Oh, what? Project updates and acquisitions?
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess we
Done.
could jump
That
into
was
that.
it.
Wow. I've got 2 minor ones. Not entirely CoCo related, but CoCo adjacent.
Okay. And then we can, sure.
Let's see here. Let's change it so that I can show stuff. Okay. I just recently got a new soldering iron.
Scared me.
Yeah. This is a Peinzel version 2.
Oh.
Battery powered or
It's
propane?
it has a 2.5 millimeter barrel and a USB-C.
Hmm.
Can you
For the
take it
most
on
part-
an airplane and use it in first class?
Yep. For the most part, it's very similar to the V1. The 2 main differences is the V1 can only handle up to 20 volts, and the V2 can handle 24 volts. And it's got a more powerful ARM processor in it. Main reason why I upgraded is because my V1, they're not really designed to be used for 20 to 40 hours a week. And after 3 years, has a few problems. It's
Getting
sometimes-
tired.
Yeah, sometimes it freezes while which is kind of interesting when it's on because it freezes on and continues to just stay hot. And it won't respond in DFU mode to upgrade the firmware. So I figured they're cheap enough. I might as well just get another one.
Oh, here, and I was thinking in the,
Controlled
freeze
solder
mode to create your ice cubes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, when it's frozen, it gets hot.
Set your suitcase on fire. Perfect.
Now, the other thing, I got this.
The
That looks
battery.
familiar. It's got an FCC sticker.
Ooh, stare into the light. Stare into the
Ooh,
light.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
It's
UV.
Phone soap.
the phone soap. Yes. Now, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with the CoCo or computers in general? Well, this is basically a box with UVC, not USB-C, UVC. And not only will it supposedly disinfect your cell phone, but UVC is also used for erasing EEPROMs.
Ah.
Right. And those work much better than the little nail polish setter things that you'll find at.
Are you sure it doesn't have USB-C?
Actually, it's
It does.
USB-C to the USB-C. Yeah.
it's got micro.
Oh, it's just A.
And the micro B.
A and C.
That's micro B. This is for plugging in your cell phone to charge
To
it.
charge it while you're baking it.
So I was partly right. I was going to guess it was a tanning bed for really small people.
Yeah, yeah.
For pixies.
It's a tanning bed for EEPROMs or EPROMs. So
Nice.
yeah, I was at the Goodwill about 2 weeks ago and I saw it for $4 and I'm like, well, antiseptic UV bulbs are used for erasing EEPROMs. I wonder if it would work with erasing EEPROMs, and or if it even works at all. Because I mean, it was in a Goodwill, and I figured for $4 it was worth a try.
Oh,
So
really?
bought it, threw some EEPROMs in it, boom, works great. And if you stack them just right, you can put like 14 of them in at once.
Nice. And for what it's worth, your girlfriend's UV nail setter will erase EEPROMs, but it takes forever. So
It's because they're safe.
they're safe, yes. That's not safe, so that's better.
And my girlfriend doesn't do her nails, so
Just sharpens them.
yeah. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Okay. Do we want to do the game on
do.
results next, or?
I do know that Wingnut got himself some new cool toys.
Yeah, thank you, Sloopy. Yeah, I got a good one.
Oh, with an
Hey,
upgraded
there you
CoCo
go.
2 keyboard too.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Thank you.
I still think you should show off the other thing that you got a few weeks back.
Really? Even though but it's not quite color computer related, but okay.
These geeks, they will appreciate it.
I have a Radio Shack 25-watt 10-meter transceiver,
Oh, nice.
HTX10.
Nice.
I made contacts with Texas and Washington State from Delaware so far.
Sweet.
Oh, cool.
All right. Thank you.
That wasn't the one I was talking about, but that one.
I'm not sure which one you were talking about.
The
Okay.
big, huge honking one with the green screen.
Oh, really? That one? I mean, okay. I'll go grab it. It's a Heathkit oscilloscope. Really
Ooh.
not related, but okay.
Hey, it could be CoCo related. You could use it to repair a CoCo.
Right.
Yeah,
fix
and
your
it has a
CoCo. And
bandwidth
it's-
sufficient enough to see the processor. So
Like 5 megahertz.
it's 8.
So it's 8.
And
I
that
have-
actually,
I have
that
one of
covers
those.
everything.
It's actually in
It's
blue because it's
actually,
a Bell and Howell.
Yeah, it is actually CoCo related because it was sold at CoCo Fest last year. It was one of the things on what's his name? Mark
Marlette.
no,
Somebody's table anyway.
Mobley.
John Mark
Okay.
Mobley.
John
Yeah,
Mark.
John Mark Mobley's table of wonderful stuff. He was actually selling it.
It
So
might have come from Bob Swoger.
yeah,
Yeah, probably did.
that's it. It was one of the things in Bob Swoger's
Yeah, because most of Bob Swoger's electronics collection, there was a lot of it actually went to the VCF warehouse.
Yeah. So that scope does have CoCo tie-ins. Because I kept telling him, I says he should put it on project updates and acquisitions, and he's like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with CoCo, and I'm like, yes, it does. Then also with the Tandy thing, I told him that too.
Already?
A lot of people would be interested in that too, and he's like, no, he goes, it's not CoCo related. I'm like, yeah, well, not everyone here is just CoCo. I mean, there's a lot of hams here on the show and in the community, and
Also, when have we ever stayed on topic?
And CoCos do have a long history with the ham community.
right.
They do.
Ask
Yeah.
Ron Delvaux about leaf hacks.
Everybody drink.
Our
Yep, there we go.
yeah, our train of thought doesn't just get derailed; it just goes barking down a dirt road.
Ugh.
And late arrival Nick has just joined us. Hopefully he's fully awake.
There you go.
I'm going to take that as a guess that he didn't stay up all night to watch the other presentations so far today.
No, I didn't.
No, it's too early for you. Understandable.
Okay. Game on results.
Ken's ready.
Ken, you ready?
Oh, yep. I guess there's nothing to show.
I'll give you your intro here so I can find it in the list.
No, you don't have to. I can just jump right into it.
Here we go.
Ooh,
Try
that's
that
a blast from the past.
Hey, I still got that button too.
All right. Well,
And here I was all excited that Nick was going to, announce a new game he's working on or something.
I didn't do a video for this one, so it's a live reading of the scores. So, we played Mayan this week, or for the last 2 weeks, and we had 13 participants. We had Sloopy Malibu.
Who's he?
Am I
I'm not
not
seeing
showing?
anything yet.
No,
Why
you
is
got a
that
black
not-
screen.
Okay, why is that not working?
It's like you're sharing, but not sharing anything.
Ah.
Ken, are you bandwidth challenge today?
I had some weirdness with Zoom earlier today. An
And
hour
Henry
ago, so-
Strickland went dark too.
It's not sharing any of my screens. It's just showing black. Just wait. Here, I'm going to try something different. Let's see if I actually just share.
No, not that button. Sorry.
Share a whole screen.
Share my screen. There, that worked. I think. Is that working?
Yep. Yeah, it was here.
Okay. So we played Mayan for the last 2 weeks, and we had 13 participants. We had Sloopy Malibu with 140, Mike with 2110, Mark B with 11,270, David Ladd with 13,090, Ed Rhodes with 14,780, Jim Rye 15,360, Canadian Retro Things 16,490, Retro Rick 37,690, Tasman 86,710, Coconut Bob 102,660, Dr. Ted 141,890, Shenley 155,680, and absolutely obliterating everybody else, we had Porticoco with 251,700.
And that was done in the MC10 too, wasn't it?
I believe so, yes.
That was a
So
Wow. Okay. And the CoCo Nation salutes Porta Coco. Atta boy.
Salute.
And should we do a wellness check on Dr. Ted? Is he okay?
So mine was a little bit of a different game. I don't know if there's much to say about it, but it's kind of a reverse Pac-Man where the ghosts are eating the dots and you're trying to protect your hamburgers from them. And the only way you know where they are on the screen is when they're eating dots. So then you have to shoot them with a fireball.
And they do flash themselves occasionally, so you can get a so they'll tell you where they're at every once in a while.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
First, when I first played this game, I really didn't like it much, but after I played it for a little bit, I started getting the hang of it, and I actually found level 6.
Yeah, you did pretty good on it.
So
comparatively to,
and I was just ignoring the hamburgers altogether, and
Yeah.
just going after the because when your screen starts, they are visible, so you got to memorize where they're all at, and just chase after them.
Yeah, because actually to move on to the next level, you only need one hamburger left, so it's just less points if you have less hamburgers, but
Yeah, you get bonus points every round for how many hamburgers you have left by the time you kill all the ghosts.
it doesn't affect your going into the next screen. It just refills all the hamburgers, or sometimes more, depending on the screen.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, Jim Gary says MC10 for the win, since they won the first place of this one.
I noticed Sloopy never posted his Atari score. He's playing this on the Atari.
Was that a submittable score on the Atari?
I would prefer it not to be, but you know, I don't think the gameplay between different. Well, actually, you should know how. Like, well, I guess you never could get it working on the other one, the CoCo.
Right.
Because your down key wasn't working.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the same or not.
Any of the other games by Inafuto that I've played, the gameplay tends to vary so little between different systems, so that it's mostly just the graphics and the sound that differ a little bit.
Yeah, and the other ones that I've played, the gameplay itself has been slightly different, but very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd guess this was pretty much the same, slightly different.
And my apologies for not submitting a score, because I had to play it to test it when I was patching it for disk. So I did have a score, and I forgot to take a screenshot. I was planning to just get back to it on Thursday, and then, as we'll be covering on our presentation that Brian Weasler, Paul Viscarelli, and I are doing after the show, there was a reason that I didn't show up for Thursday, because I was up pretty late Wednesday night into Thursday morning doing something that I didn't think was going to be ready for our presentation. And
it's
now
okay.
it is,
We know it's just because you don't like us.
Well, that too, but there's a good reason. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what this reason is.
So obviously, because Mayan is a brand new game, there was no reviews of it. So, yeah, it's basically just what the people that played it thought. And I'm very much in agreement with Mark B that at first when I tried it, I was like, whatever. But then, actually, once you started getting into the game, it was a lot more fun. Anybody else?
It is a fun game. It's as far as I know, that's a fairly original concept. Somebody can correct me if they've seen something similar to that on a different machine or not. I've never seen anything in the CoCo like that. Nice and easy to quick to learn. As you said, it kind of grows on you after you kind of get used to it. And
once you figure out the concept of it.
Yeah. And I'm glad there's like an MC10 version. I know we'll be talking about the news here, but it was a Pierce Harrison or was it Paris Rat? We kind of caught up all the Dragon ones, because there isn't a direct Dragon port. Most of the Inafuto games use keyboard controls, and of course the keyboards are mapped differently between the Dragon and the CoCo.
Yeah.
So they need a special version for it to play properly, and he just caught up the last 5 Inafuto games that the CoCo's gotten, and this was one of them. So there's now a Dragon version of this as well if you want to try it. And I'll give you details where to find it here during the news.
Jim Rai says he wanted the hamburgers. He didn't want to protect them. He wanted to eat them. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but as you said, seems to be a fairly. I've never seen anything quite like it. Has anybody else on the panel or in the audience seen anything that compares to this game?
I have not.
And Sloopy, I know you only played the Atari version, but what did you think of it?
It was a pretty decent, solid game. I mean, it took a little getting used to the gameplay because it's completely opposite of what you're expecting. But it's an interesting twist on a old classic of munching dots through mazes.
Yeah. That's kind of what drew it to me originally, was that kind of looks cool that the only way you know where the bad guys are is by where the dots are disappearing.
Right.
You got to keep putting the dots down so you can keep finding them.
Oh, that would be clever. Yeah.
Okay, well, the other game that we played was Wizard's Quest, which is a very, very difficult game.
And one that it was actually made in the UK for the Dragon and CoCo originally. I don't think we saw it here for multiple years after that.
I don't think this game would have sold well in the North America.
Yeah, I think they needed a little bit more in the instructions.
Yeah.
You talking about like the printed instructions on the cassette case or the ones built into the game?
The ones printed in the cassette case and the ones built into the game. You know, it's a game that it makes you do trial and error of trying to do stuff like trying to use items and trying to do this and that. But the bad guys are coming at you so quickly, you don't have any time to do that. You sit there and you start trying to use anything and you just get killed.
I haven't played it in a while, so I can't remember, but I do remember it had that UK flair for really difficult gameplay.
Yeah. It's a little over the top, in my opinion. That it's trying to make you be a bit of an exploring game where you have to find items and use the items to do certain things, but they throw the bad guys at you so fast and furiously that you don't have time to do any actual exploring and any actual using of items. You're just running around trying to stay alive.
I do know that graphically it's very close to, what is it called on the Spectrum? Attic Attack or something like that?
Yeah.
Is it meant to be a clone and just renamed, or is there some differences in the gameplay? Oh, okay. I haven't had a chance to try it either, so.
I've seen Attic Attack, but
some of our UK viewers there actually have tried both on the two different platforms. Like I said, graphically they're very close, at least from first screenshot glance, but I don't know if the gameplay is this similar as well.
Yeah, Sixty says, as pretty as it is, he's not really a fan. I thought it was too hard even as a kid.
Oh wow, and he's from the UK. He's used to those hard games. If he thought it was too difficult, I would call that impossible. No, it's a different game. Sorry.
No, I agree. It's yeah. It's a little too hard. But we have to play it for one more week. So
60 says Airball, the sequel, toned down the difficulty and was much more enjoyable as well. I find that one too hard. So
well, that's just our North American sensibilities.
Yeah, we're wimps. I don't think that one's actually been on the challenge yet either. So there's another.
No, it has not.
Another one. I think we'll need a bit of a break and have a non-frustrating game at some point first.
I'll have to let this one get the taste out of people's mouths before we try the sequel.
Yeah. I guess part of it's the age. Like we didn't see a lot of these dragon-based games from the 80s until the late 90s, early 2000s. I think is when I first started seeing a few of them getting ported. And that 10, 15 years and even more nowadays, 30 to 40 years, my reflexes just can't handle that kind of stuff anymore. So it's just one big bundle of frustration.
Wait,
I can appreciate the graphics and what they're trying to do. It's a little too difficult for my old
what are
man
these
fingers.
reflexes you talk about?
But yeah, visually it looks pretty good. It's meant to be a two-color game because, of course, they didn't have artifacting colors, not the same way we did, and not as vibrant when you did kind of do it. But it's 256 by 192, two-color graphics, kind of looks like a Macintosh game or something. But it's got some pretty decent size, sprites and the little, walls with the little stone outlines and stuff there. It actually looks pretty good for a two-color game. And kind of a weird top-down perspective.
I mean, the one thing that, as people have, some people pointed out on the live stream, it's a lot easier than trying to do all the exploring and actually do anything in the game, as 60 actually talks about in the comments there. It's easier just to sit in a room and just continually fire and build points. Just keep killing things and...
Yeah, like the exploration doesn't actually get you the points as much as the, like you said, just sitting in a room and firing. And if you're going for score, then there's no real point to exploring.
Exactly.
I would call that kind of bad game design myself.
I would too. I mean, I like those games where you get a few points for just farming points, like doing that. You could do that. Like UGG that we just played. I mean, you get 25 points for killing the dinosaur, but you get 1,000 for getting an egg. So
yeah, you want to encourage the exploration, so your point value should be bigger, getting to a different room and getting stuff for a spell or whatever it was.
Or once you clear the room, the monsters don't keep reappearing. So you got to go find them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's the other thing is like when you come into a room, it should be like 1 or 2 monsters appear. If you kill them, then you have time to pick things up and do the exploring and try to use items, all that stuff. But instead, it's just
constant respawn.
Constant, just respawn.
I don't mind the respawning if you go out of the room and come back in. That's okay. But if you're respawning constantly in the room, it's kind of distracting you from the actual gameplay.
Yeah. So it's trying to be an exploratory game that doesn't give you any chance to explore.
Yeah. And as 60 said, they kind of fixed that somewhat in Airball. And Airball is a pretty cool game. It's just that the controls seem to be a bit finicky, at least for my reflexes, like trying to line up the jump stuff, which we'll probably get to in the future whenever we play that game as an official.
People can hate me for that one.
I mean, it took me a while on that. Well, I don't want to discuss that game until we actually play it, so never mind.
Yeah. All right, but we do have another week of playing Wizard's Quest, so we'll be able to really discuss it next week on how much we're disappointed in it. Now, I am going to try and share some video and see if that works.
Yep.
Can you see the video? Yay!
Yep, we can.
All right, so here we are. A couple of us playing Mayan, one of us playing Mayan and the others playing Wizard's Quest. This was Thursday night's show. Sloopy, did you want to talk about Thursday night's show?
Do I have to?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I don't have much of a choice.
Oh, here's the instructions, by the way.
Yes, and calling them instructions is a bit liberal with the term.
Yeah. They may as well have just printed on the on it, don't die.
Get stuff, don't die.
Oh, is that the entire instructions?
That's the entire instructions right there.
Yes. Yes, it was a small...
That just gives you the premise, not actual instructions. Okay. I like the artwork though.
Yeah, the artwork's great. And the artwork in the game is great. Like, I mean, visually, this may have well been a Commodore 64 game because it really looks good, but plays like crap.
Yes, but
remember we were talking earlier about people have multiple platforms they like. I think you can tell some of Ken's non-favorites.
Oh no, I actually like the Commodore 64. Actually, I like the VIC-20 better, but I am very disappointed in a lot of their games.
And I like the Atari 800 even more. But no, it was and it was a great time because we had 6, and I think at one time we might have actually had 7 players. We had the awesome reading of the instructions. Unfortunately, the instructions themselves could
Yeah, one paragraph done.
use a revision or 2.
Or did you guys read the instructions from the screen? I didn't get a chance to watch the show, so
Yeah,
because the
Yeah.
screen, I know the game itself has some instructions that are a bit more detailed.
oh well, that's good.
Oh, and I do have to also say one thing, that this was a very typical Canadian style show, because a few guys got together and a hockey game broke out.
Where's the fighting?
I don't think you can fight in that.
No, you can't. It's basically based on the Activision version of hockey for the VCS.
Yeah, it was Canadian hockey, not American hockey.
No, Canadian hockey, you wouldn't even have like face masks and stuff. You just blast each other's teeth out with pucks
Yeah,
and yell "car" every once in a while.
car.
Yeah, when you're playing shinny out in the street.
Oh,
Well, I had
See,
at least
you
a
guys don't
pond
do
for
hockey
that.
enough.
well, no, we would just usually say Zamboni.
Oh no, where we rough it, we'd play it on a pond or a slough, and or the city street. And
Just
you'd
the
yell a
middle
car
of
and
the
pull the
city
nets
street.
off to the side so the car can go by, and then put them back on and continue play.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm talking on a city street, on a suburban street.
Well,
Oh, even main streets. It doesn't have to be a city street. We have a tournament
we're
here in
not
town.
that we're not that high class that we have Zambonis for our city streets.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we had all kinds of Zambonis going by. We'd have Ford, Chevys, Dodges. They didn't do much for the surface of the ice either, but they did go by.
Oh wait, 60 mentioned something here in the chat. He says, "Yeah, you can see a big problem in the video talking about Wizard's Quest. You enter a room and you're stood right into a mushroom with no way to avoid them in that room, and mushrooms sap your health. So yet another bit of unfairness."
I didn't even realize that. I guess I shouldn't have been walking over the mushrooms all the time.
Yeah. All I noticed in it was my health was constantly going down.
Yep. Well, I guess the mushrooms are the reason that my health was always going down so fast.
Yeah,
See, without any instructions to say avoid the mushrooms, they're poisonous or whatever, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they were the same kind of mushrooms that I have on my pizza.
It
Next to
depends on
pineapple?
whether the people at the pizza place like you or not.
Ah. Pineapple.
He also adds, in those trapdoors fill up so much of the room. Usually they're exceptionally annoying.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big part of the issue is that everything is so physically big that there's not much room to move around.
Yeah, that's kind of like both a plus and a minus, because as you mentioned, it makes it harder to navigate. But on the other hand, it actually looks nice because there's enough room in the sprite and tile size for some detail rather than just a tiny little character.
My closet's bigger than those rooms.
Yeah, what are they, like 6 by 8?
Right.
So.
No, I hope I will have time to play it. I haven't played it since I did the website entry, which is years and years ago now. So I definitely do want to try to play
You'll
it.
definitely be thanking me for choosing it.
Yeah, I'll be swearing your name under breath here.
Go further down into the game on.
You mean by the time that absolutely nobody's playing any of the games of the week?
Yes.
Exactly.
Actually, I think I already see that here. There's Galagon, there's Nightmare Highway, Ice Hockey, some adventure game. I'm not sure
Scott
which one.
Adams' Marvel Adventure.
Oh, the Hulk one or which one?
The Hulk one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should tell you all you need to know about these two games.
Well, I think the Mayan is good. It's just not one you're going to play over and over and over for a long time. It gets
Yeah, once you get
rather
good at it, just from
repetitive.
watching some of the
Yeah.
scores here, I think you get good enough that you could go pretty well infinitely once you
Yeah.
fully get it.
Hey, Nick, are you awake? I guess.
I think we know the answer to that now.
Yep. So this brings up the response. It seems that Neutroid is better than these two games because people still played Neutroid during the entire Game On challenge.
Yeah, well, I actually didn't. I just set my computer on and then let it play and then took the best score.
Mm-hmm. But you were still playing.
No, technically I wasn't. Technically, my computer was playing.
Yeah.
But you cheated because you put your name on the score thing. So, false score.
Yeah, it should say CoCo.
Yeah.
All right, I'll accept that.
But yeah, it was a rather interesting situation. I mean, we've had that happen in the past where the game of the week hasn't been, well, the two games of the week haven't been played on the show or towards the end. But yeah, I mean, fun was had by most. And
By most.
No, I actually quite enjoyed playing Mayan, but as
Yeah,
I said,
mine, I think the biggest fault it has is that it's okay, what is it, 8 or 10 levels or something?
And then it repeats. It doesn't
And then
get
it repeats
harder.
without a skill increase required. Like it plays the same
But I think
difficulty level.
most of his games are like that. They go their levels. Usually it's a little harder to get through all the levels. I think Mayan, but just by the number of people that did it.
Yeah, like I know he doesn't make games with a ton of levels and screens and stuff because he has a lowest common denominator. Some of these other machines he's writing for only have 8K or 16K of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have enough room for a bunch of maps and stuff. But you could ramp up the difficulty, like make the monsters move faster or put more of them on there or something. It wouldn't take that much extra RAM. And that's about the only disappointing thing about the Infinity games is once you really get the hang of one, you can go forever.
Yeah.
So it's got less replayability, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. But yeah, can you get to the point where I was playing it on the Atari? I think it was towards the end. Hey,
oh yeah, Clendappy. Who was playing that?
That was Ken.
Well, spoiler alert on what the next game is going to be. I wasn't going to show that part because I didn't want to spoil the.
Oh, I just saw it because I saw you scrubbing through. So
yeah. No, but Sloopy wanted to show this Atari version, but so this is the Atari version.
Oh wow, they used a green background. Are they is it like homage to the CoCo or what?
Yeah, it looks very much CoCo.
They have more colors to choose from. I'm kind of surprised they chose that as the background.
Yeah, 128 colors, and they used that one. But the thing is it's not as nuclear green as the CoCo, so it's a little muted compared to the CoCo.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's a slightly darker. It's between the dark green and the light green on the CoCo.
It more looks like the green that you get inside of psychiatric hospitals.
Oh, the calming green.
The calming green.
Yeah.
So I guess that means Ataris are built for mental patients.
Ken's just going on the grand slam of other platforms today.
Is there anything fundamentally wrong with that?
No.
Don't worry, Ken. You'll be one of us.
Too late.
That reminded me of the institutional dark green and light green that many U.S. government buildings used.
No, the schools all used to use a kind of a mint green. So it was
they had a two-tone green that was, everything was that same two-tone green. Oh my God. Is this Social Security or the school or where am I at?
In Canada too, they use the mint green a lot in classrooms and stuff.
But plus, like late 70s computers usually had black and white, black and green, or black and amber.
Yep. And I always preferred the black and green.
Me, it depend. The amber I sometimes like better, depending on how soft or harsh the amber was.
Yeah, I have to say I preferred, for at least black and white monitors, was the amber.
Right. My old AMDEC 300, the amber screen with the physical screening, black screening to sharpen up the edges.
I don't know. Dad had replaced the white screen in his Model 3 with an amber screen, and then I got my K-Pro, and I just generally preferred the green to the amber. But that might have been because that was my computer and not Dad's.
It's all eyeballs. There was
some ownership bias there.
Perhaps, yeah.
Paper about this once. Some people green and some people amber, and it's all about your eyeball, and there was a whole big deal about it. But I'm not going to recount it now because I've forgotten it all.
So I think that's about it for the.
Okay, well, if people want to join us, where do they join us and when do they join us, Sloopy?
And why? Well, that makes it premeditated. But yes, they can join us Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, U.S. times, on the CoCo Discord. So please come join us.
Yeah, we want friends.
Yeah.
You don't even have to join us in the Discord. You can just join us in the chat.
Yep.
Stream the regular places.
Yeah,
it's a good time. YouTube and Twitch.
So
we never did get Facebook working again. I don't think we're going to worry about it, are we?
No.
No. Facebook doesn't work.
All right, and as we've already kind of seen, the upcoming game for the next 2 weeks is Clendathu, which, as anybody that's read science fiction will know, that is the book that the Starship Trooper movies were based on. Or actually, it was Starship Troopers. This is a game based on the book Starship Troopers, which then became
it almost looked like the spiders were playing hockey.
And oddly enough, this is a basic game for the.
Well, it's a hybrid.
CoCo. It's a hybrid, but I mean, it's in basic. Like you run it as a basic game.
Yeah, all the score screens and text screens it shows are all done in basic. The actual arcade part of it is all semi-language hidden into the basic program.
Mm-hmm.
Also, those people that are have some history with the Tier City Model 1 and 3 or 4 and know about some of the best animation games ever done on those computers.
Yes.
Nick, will know for sure. The author, Leo Christopherson, is quite famous for some of the stuff he did on the Model 1 and 3, from Android Nim to Voyage of the Valkyrie. What else did he do? Nick, you can probably help me with that if you're around. Dancing Demon. Yeah. But he did awesome animations with a very limited, like a 2-color palette, 128 by 48 pixels or something like that.
48, yeah.
Yeah.
This is his only forte into the color computer.
The only one that was released. He did have another one coming out about 6 months afterwards that is mentioned internally. There's a special magazine that Radio Shack employees could get. It wasn't available to the public. You can find it on the Radio Shack catalog site. And there is a mention of another game he was working on for the CoCo after Clendathu was released, but it never got finished or never got taken up by Tandy. I'm not sure what happened, but it never showed up. But it was announced to Tandy employees that he was working on it.
Now,
so really, if you could find it, that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. One thing I do have to mention about Clendathu is if you're playing it with an emulator, you have to figure out what key on your emulator is the clear key, because it's heavily used in this game.
Yep. This is one you will want to read the manual too. Don't try to just figure it out on your own.
Read the manual, because you got to know how to be able to leave the area and like be picked up by your dropship. And the idea of the game is to play 3 different levels and make as much money as you can by killing as many bugs as you can. So you can set the parameters to whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with. Because you can choose the amount of time and everything else that you have. So
Yeah. And when you get into the screen with the bugs there, you've got this little torch thing, and basically you hold down the joystick button to light it up, and you've got so much fuel for it. And then you have to like hit the bug in the head area, if I think I remember. You can't just nick them on the legs type thing to kill them.
Yeah.
And they writhe in pain when you do it, so it's kind of satisfying if you're twisted like I am.
So, yeah, so this is it. That little dot is your sight, and then when you hit the fire button, it lights up as a flame, and you light the bugs on fire. So you've got an amount of time that you can play, how much fire you have left, how much energy you have left in your suit. And there's different bugs that do different things, and if they get to the bottom of the screen, they obviously take some damage to your suit. So
Mark Siegel said that he never submitted another game to Radio Shack. And 60, probably you couldn't figure out where the clear key was.
Yeah. The clear key is how you drop into areas, drop out of areas, everything else. I know on my particular keyboard, when I'm using VCC, it's home is the clear key. So yeah, so and you also have to start the game by using the clear key. So as I said, there's a few different keys you have to know. So definitely take a look at the instructions. And Mark is going to have a lot of fun with this one because the instructions are like 12 pages long.
Yay!
It's a book. It came with the cassette.
Yeah.
It was actually probably one of the very original games that I got with my color computer. So.
By the way, I just found my reference to the second game that he was working on, another Robert Heinlein based one. So if you're okay with it, I'll share my screen just so I can show Mark.
Go ahead.
Assuming I don't have problems with sharing screens.
Okay.
That's the first time it's happened today, or the second.
So the internal magazine was called Intercom. This is the May 1983 issue. And it says here up here, a Heinlein-based adventure game or based game to be offered soon. And that talks about it's based on Andy Built a Crooked House. Is based on the same Heinlein story, the same name will run the Tier City Color Computer. Talks a little bit about Heinlein himself. This is the second software package based on a Heinlein story that the Education Division has used. In February of this year, Clondath, also based on a Heinlein story, was released. And Leo B. Christopherson is the author of it, as it mentions on here too. So that was a planned second one and never got finished. But obviously Tandy did know about it because they published it in their own internal magazine. And for the reference, that's over here on the left column.
Yeah, but it was geared towards the Education Division.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call Clondathu educational.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an educational game. I mean, maybe it'll get you to read the book.
Maybe it teaches you money because you earn money as you kill bugs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a little bit of hidden CoCo history because that's another unreleased one we've never seen.
Oh, okay. So the Crooked House thing was the Tesseract, the four-dimensional cube thing. Okay, so that is educational.
Yep. I mentioned something for those who don't know. It says that he's a junior high math, science, and computer science teacher for 18 years. And I do remember reading an interview with some students of his that he sometimes would show the kids stuff he was working on for the Model 1-3 or the CoCo at school. So they got kind of sneak previews of some of these things, which is kind of cool. I never had a cool teacher like that who was writing video games. But yeah, I hope, I don't know if is Leo still around? Does anybody know? Because if he is, it'd be kind of cool if he still has, however far he got on it.
Yeah. I've thought about looking into seeing if I could track him down, but I haven't. Also, one of the other interesting things about this is, contrary to everything that's written on the internet, this is the first video game for Starship Troopers. not the bastardization DOS game that they always talk about that was made in like 1991. This
Yeah,
is
I've corrected a few YouTube videos on that too and put it in the comments.
Yeah.
One or two of them actually has changed their video though. They do actually reflect it now, but
Now,
it's
if
kind of
they
a
could
hidden
just
gem
change
on the CoCo.
if they could just change the internet for bringing up that game as the original Starship Troopers video game.
Hey, Curtis, I don't think you posted the news summaries today.
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, it's going to be a short
Did you want
show
that?
then, isn't it?
I like them, yes.
All right, well, we can move on to Curtis's snoozy newsy now because
Well,
I'm
now
ready.
I gotta go, upload this quick here. So
I'm ready for a nap.
That's all right. We can do the first commercial break.
If I disappear, it means I've gone to my couch to watch the rest of the show.
Okay.
So Ken can have his snoozy newsy.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCo Nation Show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCo Nation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCo Nation Show would like to thank the following patrons. AC's 8-Bit Zone, Alex Gare, Alan Huffman, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Anscombe, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederick Sagard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Gernhardt, Henry Strickland, Jason Warrens, Jim Mullis, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Patrick Euland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Richard Harding, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., William Athing. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCo Nation Show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Caracticus says, "Hi, I'm just getting retro itch as I near retirement and picked up a CoCo 2 off eBay, and my first order of business is to learn how to recap it and increase the 16K RAM before I even plug it in. My name is Lorne and I'm a complete newbie here, as I've never historically owned one. Back in the day for me, it was TRS 80 Model 4D, then a 1000 TX. I got this Discord link from the CoCo Nation website. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Frederick Micro Hobbyist Sagard, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCo Nation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
All right, Patreon shout out to Jeffrey Drywater, whom I've not added to the thank you list yet, but thanks a lot. We do appreciate it.
Cool.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCo Nation News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And I just want to do a quick announcement before getting fully into the news too. For those who've been waiting for CoCo SDCs to become available, Frank at Retro Rewind let me know he's got the next batch finally done. He put it up for a few people he emailed back that have been asking for them last night. As of last night, I think he had about 30 left. I haven't checked today. But he's got them back in stock, and it is a modernized version of it. So it's a lot more surface mounting stuff so that he's got the equipment to do this a lot faster, because the previous ones he had to hand solder just about everything. So we should be able to produce them in much quicker. So if you want to get one from Retro Rewind, go ahead and hit them. I'll cover it a bit in the news here too, just to make it official there in case people skip to the news. Haha. But just to let you know, they are available again.
And your post office is shipping things again.
Yeah, that too. I literally just got a power and natural gas bill yesterday, that had been mailed out at the beginning of November. To show you how
they don't
backed up
charge
they
you
got.
late charges.
Oh, no, I already paid it because I checked online because they kind of warned everybody this is going to last a while, but that's how long it took in the system.
Wow.
2.5 months. All right, well, first of all, obviously, before I get into the other shows that are coming up here, we'll mention once again a reminder that the Tandy Virtual Fest is ongoing today. There's been 3 presentations already, and then there's another 3, I think, after the CoCo Nation show is done. You can just stay watching on the same channel. You might have to refresh every once in a while because I know Mark's stopping the video so we can create separate videos for each presentation. So you may have to do a refresh after the disconnection, depending on your browser and which version, if you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube. But definitely check this out. There's been some really interesting ones so far. As far as other upcoming shows go, the first one coming up, and this is literally in 3-4 weeks now, is VCF Southern California. That's February 16th at the Hotel Fair in Orange, California. Tickets are on sale now. He's actually put up some videos too, I think, to promote the show now on his channel that you can check out as well. And 20 days, it actually says right on here. It's just 20 days and 18 hours before it starts up. So we're going to have some CoCo representation there. I know Thomas Cherryholmes and Fujinet will be there as well. Wayne Campbell will be there and a few others. So hopefully we'll get some live on the floor video or audio coming out so we can kind of see the show as of what's going on. After that, we have VCF East, and that's one that I'll ask Henry if there's been any updates as far as stuff goes there. But this is actually getting a bit of a CoCo theme this year. So there's a whole bunch of classes and stuff, if you'll see in the computer classes section here, that are CoCo related, including basic and assembly and different levels of skill, whether you're a beginner or fairly advanced. And there's some stuff dealing with Fujinet there as well. Any updates on that stuff, Henry, as far as classes?
Excuse me. We're still looking for instructors to help out with that. So if you'd like to be a part of helping out with these classes at VCF East, that is in Wall, New Jersey, which for me, it's a pretty quick 5-hour drive. If you're in like the southern half of the Northeast megalopolis, it's not too bad to get there. But the home of the Info Age Science Museum, great place to visit. But yeah, if you've got an inkling to come over and to help out with being an instructor, we can definitely use some helpers with like the advanced CoCo basic. We can use some help with some of the possibly some of the Fujinet stuff. We will have the syllabi worked out probably within the next I'd say 3-4 weeks or so. But we're definitely looking for volunteers for being a part of the classroom. The other side of that is that there is now a volunteer sign-up form available for VCF East. So if you do want to volunteer in any type of capacity whatsoever, feel free to go to the VCF website, to the VCF East page, and sign up to be a volunteer.
Okay. I know it's April 4th to 6th for the audio listeners who can't see my screen. Where would you find the sign-up sheet? Is that on the main front page, or?
It is somewhere in there. I saw it through Discord. I remember that much. Let me see. There it is. Volunteers. Click volunteers right there.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yep. So you go to the VCF East page, click on volunteers, and you got your volunteer registration. Oh, it's no longer accepting responses. Okay. Well, I saw it come up a couple of days ago. I'm sure we can still use the help.
Do you still need machines? Like I know you were asking for people to,
yes,
be able to donate
machines. We'll definitely be needing some machines. So if you have a CoCo, if you have CoCo 1 or 2, The CoCo 1 must be at 32K. At least the CoCo 2 needs to be 32 or 64K. Both of them with extended color basic is what we're looking for. Give me a second and let me see if I can't pull up on my end where that is. East 24, VCF East. Let me see. Mid-Atlantic, East 24 speakers, vendors. Nope, that's not it. It's not in Mid-Atlantic News. Well, I can't seem to find it right now, but there was some, oh, there we go. Here we go. Okay, VCF East volunteer registration. Oh, yeah, here we go. I've got a new one for you. I'm going to stick that over via the chat so you can share it. Yeah, so go ahead and pull that that I just chatted over to you. And that's going to be the VCF East volunteer registration form.
Yeah, if you can post that in the Discord then too, so that people can grab it if they're able to.
Yeah, I can do that.
Kind of long. I don't know if it'll post into YouTube or not.
Yeah, I can't post it to YouTube. I know that much for sure.
You can fix that.
Hey, it's really cool that VCF East is actually doing a CoCo theme as far as their classes and stuff go. I think that's the first time the CoCo's been highlighted like that.
Oh yeah, it's and it's the first time that I've seen it, but I'm like really just I'm really excited about this. I'm really looking forward to it, and you know, the more folks that we can have like being a part of this, the more we can bring attention to. It's not so much forgotten, but it's definitely seems to me like it's a niche machine. The more attention we can bring to it.
Yep. Cool. Thanks for the update, Henry.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Next up after that is the next quarterly meeting for the Manitoba Retro Computer and Gaming Club. This is the one that I attended, their previous one here, the first weekend of January. It's in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And there's a few CoCo people that are in the area that usually attend, D. Bruce Moore and David Craker. And then I joined them in this last one. A lot of fun. It's a much smaller group. It's probably 20 to 30 people, I think, on average. And they sometimes have other gatherings that aren't, where everybody's displaying stuff and showing stuff off. Sometimes they just have a little dinner where everybody gets together and just, talks retro. So there's a couple different ways it goes. So the next one is happening April 12th at the same place this last one was, which is the Fort Rouge Leisure Center in Winnipeg. And if you join the Facebook group, Manitoba Retro Computer and Gaming Club, you can get the invites whenever they start announcing these other get-togethers and sign up for them if you want to. And they usually try to pick a theme if it's one where people are bringing machines. This last one was actually Tier City. It was kind of matches the fest we're doing this weekend because it covered all the Tier City. We had Model 1s there. We had some old Radio Shack robots and stuff there too, and a whole corner of CoCos with me, David, and Bruce, and it was a lot of fun. And a guy teaching about oscilloscopes, which kind of matches what Wingnut had there earlier. Next one after that, of course, is the big kahuna for us in the CoCo community, and that's the 33rd annual Chicago CoCo Fest. I refuse to say last because we know it's not. And that's at the same place it was last year, the Holiday Inn and Suites in Chicago, Carroll Stream, Wheaton. And it is on May 2nd and 3rd, which is a day earlier than it has been in the past. We're trying that experiment to see how attendance goes because a lot of people were having to catch planes at certain times on Sunday, would miss some of the seminars, and some of the vendors were on those planes. So, of course, they shut down their booths early. And some people that can only make it on Sunday said they had to work on Saturday and from the local area couldn't even see the booths. So this way it'll be Friday and Saturday. You can still have Sunday to, strip down your display and get packed up and stuff. But the main presentations and seminars and stuff will be on Friday and Saturday. And we'll see how that works out this year. I think it'll work out good. And hope to see all of you there. Next after that, we have the VCF Southwest. This is the one in the Davidson Gundy Alumni Center, University of Texas at Dallas and Dallas-Fort Worth. And, of course, that is the hometown of Tandy itself and where the Tandy Towers that, ran the place was for years. I think the towers are still there. I don't think the subway is anymore. Any locals there like Mark can let me know if I'm wrong on that, but I don't believe it's something you can ride anymore anyway. This is one that Brian Weezer and I are going to try our darndest to make it to. And there's definitely a CoCo contingent down there, usually two as well. We usually have Brendan Donaghy of CoCo VGA fame is usually actually one of the exhibitors there. Boise's given speeches on the CoCo and history of the CoCo there as well. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully making that one as well.
I'm going to try and make it this year. This is Strick.
Oh, cool. I don't think I'll be doing a booth, not the first year, because this would be the first time I've ever been to the show, and I really want to have the time to wander around and see all the displays without having to be chained to my own.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about a booth yet, so I don't know.
Next up after that is Tandy Assembly 2025 in the same place it's been the last few years here at Springfield, Ohio. That is going to be September 26th to the 28th. And if you guys have any questions about that, one of the organizers for it, Peter Satinsky, was actually on earlier showing off the Tandy 10 as part of the virtual fest. So he's also one of the main guys kind of in charge of this, and also with the Tier City Trash Talk podcast. So, and the live show they do once every month or two.
Now I'm going to try to do that one too.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah.
And not even all in the same area. You're going all over the U.S.
Yeah, so Texas, Chicago, and Springfield. Yeah.
And the last one I've gotten listed, if you guys have any other shows that I don't know about, like Bob Emery had pointed out, there was a local, kind of like the Manitoba Club, there was another one that he gave us a live stream of last weekend in Texas, I think Grand Prairie, if I remember correctly, but that was actually a very well-attended one where he was showing off his CoCo. There was a bunch of really cool stuff there too. So if you guys have any other shows, just send me a message on Discord or email me directly at curtisboyle@sastel.net.
Did you see Grant's poster?
Pardon me?
See Grant's post here about table registrations?
Nope.
It says they open at noon Central Time next Saturday.
Oh, okay, so that means Randy's got the new database stuff all set up and ready to go.
That's what it sounds like.
Excited!
All right.
Push the button, Frank.
So the last one that I do know about right now, like I said, send some more if I'm missing any, is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Obviously, this is much more oriented towards computer gaming. And this will have like handheld games, game consoles, home computers that play games, etc. And that's October 17th to 19th at the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. This is one that Tim and AJ have attended, and there's been a few other CoCo people at these two. Tim and AJ, last I heard, are planning on going to it again this year. They kind of skipped last year because they were trying to get to some other shows as well. They're trying to do like 1 or 2 shows a year, but in different spots so they can kind of rotate through rather than going to the same one all the time. But it looks like they had a lot of fun there last time. We had some live streams from them last year too. They also had a kind of a game competition where you come play against them at their booth. I don't think they're doing a booth this year. I think they're actually just going to take the time to kind of wander the floor themselves, because some of these larger shows, it's impossible to see the whole show and man a booth. It's like if you go to some of the bigger VCFs like VCF Midwest and stuff, it's just like it's impossible. So, hey, that's what I have as far as upcoming shows. I'll switch over. I'll do Game On News first, I think. Okay, so first of all, this was actually posted on Facebook as well as I found it through my normal YouTube search. So a guy named Joshua Yeager, I don't think I've heard of him before, so I'm not sure how long he's been in the CoCo community, but his YouTube channel is called Game Huggers. And he did a pre-record of playing Downland that is being released officially as a YouTube video on January 31st. So that's the premiere, as you'll see down over here. And he'll be playing Downland, and it looks like it was a live stream, maybe on Twitch or something, or a private stream or something like that, because he's actually got comments and stuff. But he's going to be actually watching along with everybody else. So if anybody has any questions for him, you'll be able to fire them at him as the video is being played. So I don't know if he's planning doing any other CoCo stuff. He did mention that he did play Downland as a kid, so he's not coming to it late, in modern times and just rediscovering it. He's actually going back to a game he played as a kid. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that. He did a little YouTube short playing on it too, but that's not too far off. 6 days off from now. Jim Jewett, who's actually just kind of rose to prominence in the CoCo group on Facebook here recently with a lot of stuff that he has kind of resurrected, a lot of graphic demos and some games he wrote back in the early 80s on his CoCo 1, and he's continuing to do that. So he has a very simple game here called Slopes, which is kind of a downhill slalom course. It's using the standard scrolling style. I think a lot of us did that in basic, where you'd have, steer the thing through the walls that are moving around on the screen while the screen's scrolling up type thing. I know I did a few of them. He mentions here I'd use the O and P keys to move left and right. I can't remember if he has key repeat built into this or if he's just using the in key where you have to tap it each time. But anyway, nice. So someone should run in 4K just fine. If I remember correctly, he did use one extended basic command, because this should work on a color basic 4K if anybody still has those, or an MC10 for that matter if you type it in. But he has a string. Now you can duplicate that by adding the string together with character strings and stuff. But just to let you know, if you want to try it on a CoCo 1 or 2 or on the MC10, you will have to change that one line. They also updated this Space War game. Now this one we showed last week, so it's mostly text based. And it's kind of a space strategy game. It does have some more graphics showing some of the spaceships and other things, space stations, etc. And he uploaded a version of it to run earlier in the week, and then he found a bit of a bug, so he actually did a correction. So he's done version 2, which he just uploaded yesterday, which fixes all that. And he also included an updated instructions PDF in the zip file along with the disk file. So I haven't had a chance to actually look at it yet, but there's full instructions now included with it if you want to play it. I do remember he mentioned it was based on a CompuServe game, which I think was Mega Wars. Which I remember playing a little bit back in the day, but it was so expensive to get in CompuServe, I didn't play it much because you were getting charged up here in Canada, we're getting charged like $18 an hour to play the stupid thing. So this might be my opportunity to finally play the game without having to pay money for it when I wasn't hacking on a CompuServe. Next, we have Grayson Walker, who posted a basic listing. Now, this time he didn't post a disk image. He actually posted the raw listings. You just type it in. And this had that string 2 here for printing. That's the only extended basic command in here I can see. But it's another one of these scrolling games. In this case, though, it's not taking place on a ski slope. It's he says it's basically a canyon drop type thing. So it's a summer version of it. And basically you steer your V key and you kind of get your score. As each line you go down, you have to follow this winding path. And not very much of a listing there. You can type it in really quick if you want to give it a shot. If you want an advanced version of this style game, I would recommend the track, I think is what the version in Rainbow was called. And it was written so you could actually create tracks and save them and save high scores and stuff. It was actually fairly advanced. It came out in late 82 Rainbow, I'm guessing. I think it was around October, November, something like that. And the guy that wrote that, he wrote it as a prequel to a commercial game he sold the next year, which actually has high-res graphics and stuff. And one we've not covered on the Game On Challenge, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Revolution, it was called. So it was a much more advanced version of it. But even the one in Rainbow was kind of nice because there wasn't too many of these games where you could save high scores or create your own tracks and then save them. So you could actually send them to other friends and have them try to play the track and see if they can beat your score type thing. As I mentioned earlier in the show here, when we're talking about mine, the keyboard matrix, the way the Dragon is wired up is, I think, shifted a row compared to the CoCo for most of the keys, so the keys don't map exactly the same. Now, you could hunt around and try to find equivalent keys if you really, desperate, but it's generally a lot easier to play because the keys are usually designed with a certain layout, like your left, right should be like next to each other on the keyboard, whereas if you're reading the wrong keyboard matrix, it might be in completely different rows and make no sense. Your left key might be on the right-hand side of the keyboard or something. So Paris Rat, or was it Pierce? I don't think he signed his name here. I think it's Paris Rat's that username. He decided to catch up the Infuto games on the Dragon because he hasn't done any of these in a while, and there's been multiple releases since. So this batch he's got here, which will totally catch them up, from 13 to 18 Infuto games. And you can dial. He's got the short name and long names. If you want to run it on an actual SD card, it's a short names, so that's compatible to cards, like the CoCo SDC with the Dragon setting and some of the other ones that are more local to the Dragon. And you've also got the longer name ones if you want to use it in emulators like, X-Roar or MAME or whatever. And the games he got covered on this particular run are Anti-Air, Popman, Osatos, Udao, and the new Mayan. And he's got little screenshots of each of them here, so I think we've played most of these, Ken, if you're sitting on the couch. I don't think we've missed any of these recent ones. So much green. Yeah, I think we've played pretty well all of them now. Anyway, the keyboard commands are all fixed now, so they play properly. And I wish I'd kind of caught that earlier, because then I think Kieran might have submitted a score based on the Dragon version rather than having to play the CoCo version. But anyway, if you want to get them, it's a free download. Like I said, there's a short name and long name versions of it saved there. And if you just go to the World of Dragon forums and you go into the upload section, you'll find them there. Next up, user on the World of Dragon forums is called Marky D68. I'm not sure who that is in real life, but he actually has some typed in games that he had gotten or done back in the day from the Dragon User magazine. They had some semi-language games that they actually published. You had punched in a whole bunch of data statements. And he managed to get one of them resurrected here called Night Move. And he's actually included the All Dream Assembler source code cassette image, and he's also got the actual gameplay one as well. And this is from the Dragon User magazine, May of 1986. Now, when I tried running it under XROAR, which my XROAR defaults to Dragon DOS, it actually crashed when it got to the main game screen. I'm guessing that's the same problem as some of the CoCos had, where the any version with a disk extended operating system or disk-based operating system, some stuff gets moved around in memory and changed from where it is in a cassette-based system. And I'm guessing the same thing's happening because nobody here has complained about it. But I did manage to get it running long enough, take a couple screenshots so you can kind of see what it is. And once again, this is a World of Dragon form if you want to grab it and take a look. So here's the intro screen and 2 skill levels. And then it uses, I think this is Semigraphics 8, possibly 12. So it's actually using a higher Semigraphics mode. And you can see here on the screen, it's actually got some on-screen instructions. And you can look up the Dragon User magazine for further. But cursor keys for movement, press enter to change. You can restart or quit the game. And it's kind of based on a chessboard. I haven't actually played it because, like I said, it crashes. So Karen, you probably know a lot more about this, whether it's a disc versus cassette compatibility issue or not. I'm guessing that's kind of what it is. Because I know in the CoCo we have some problems if you have a cassette-based game. For example, they have the high-res screens normally mapped to 600 hex. On a disk system, they're moved up to E00. And from 600 to E00 on the disk system is like disk buffers and sector buffers and file tables. And if you try to load a cassette game, it just overwrites all of that and crashes your machine. So at any rate, it looks interesting, but you can go grab that and the source. So even if you want to, you could fix it for whatever changes need to be done. Next up, Chronological Gaming completed the games for all systems for November of 1982 that had specific release dates known, like, for example, November 12th or something. Now he's going back and he basically alphabetically goes through all the remaining games that we know were released in November, but we don't have a specific date. And there's going to be multiple CoCo entries in this list, and there's 2 already this week, just right off the start. So the first one here is Advanced Star Trench Warfare by Fred Serbo, sold by his company Illustrated Memory Banks. And he was rather famous because all of his stuff was written in BASIC with no assembly language at all. And he was, trying to push BASIC as much as he could. He was one of the first people to figure out how to do controllable artifact colors in P Mode 4 in BASIC. And it's a technique I've shown on one of the CoCoTech episodes too. It's pretty easy, actually. Now, the one other unique thing about Advanced Star Trench Warfare is that there was a mini version of the game published in Rainbow in August of 1982. You could type in, which I do remember doing. The commercial one was a little bit more advanced. But one of the things that he actually put in the instructions, and it was also mentioned in the Rainbow article, is because artifacting on the CoCo produces red/orange and blue/green, depending on tint controls in your particular TV, is that he mentions, Fred mentions, the author, that if you put on the old 3D glasses with the blue, red, or green, red, that you actually do get a bit of a 3D effect when you're playing this. Now, I did try that back in the day, and it wasn't designed specifically to do that, so it's a pretty minimal effect. There's definitely better ones, like 80 Micro had a 3D program using the same glasses. They published in one of their big special issues, and I think in late 82, early 83, that actually has a proper 3D effect in it. And of course, Steve Bjork's Warp Fighter 3D for the CoCo 3 definitely does. We showed it off at Boat Fest last year. I don't know how many people here got a chance to try that, but it's a real 3D effect. And you can do a real 3D effect. The problem on the CoCo 1 and 2 is that it's because we're using, RF output or composite output, is that the adjustment of the TV or monitor you're on can change it so that the glasses don't quite work properly. And you have to get both sides, matching well enough to get the 3D effect. Otherwise, you get this weird ghosting and it doesn't look quite as good. But give it a try. If you guys have some old, CRT based, TVs, not RGB monitors, obviously, because that'll just come up black and white. I'd be interested if you guys have any 3D glasses or what you guys think of this one. Do you get enough of a 3D effect to properly call it 3D? Because technically, this was the first game on any microcomputer advertised to use those glasses to get a 3D effect. And it wouldn't be what my choice would have been. Because the effect to me on my TV at the time was not that good. You just get a hint of it kind of thing. So I'd be interested if everybody here wanted to try it. As a basic game, it's pretty primitive. It's uses page flipping to animate the a little bit further. Uses page flipping to animate drawing the lines here of the trench to give it, that movement. But basically, it's just a randomly appearing ship. There's 2 different types that'll appear in one of 9 spots. It's 3 across by 3 down. So it's like here, 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 and then 3 in the middle and 3 on the left. And basically, you just move a laser sight, which is positioned based on your analog joystick. So this requires analog. And you basically just shoot. And because it's completely random where the ship's going to show up, it's not like it flies in certain directions or anything. It's pretty well just like a random number generator with graphics and sound added type thing. So the gameplay's not that great either. But back in '82, seeing a basic game animate, a full trench was pretty cool. So I'll play just a little clip for those of you who've not seen it.
Cursor is just firing in.
And this is without the speed up hook. The
set
manual
patterns.
actually
Like I
mentions
have
you
a
can
set
add that if you want it to run
quadrant that I
faster.
can fire off, and the ships are just blinking into existence. Oh gosh! And if they shoot you, you lose the life and you get recharged like that. But you're kind of like almost guessing where they're going to be or move because it's not smooth. You can see they're blinking into existence. My shot blinks into existence.
Yeah, if it at least moved one sector at a time, like it moved left or right or up or down one spot, at least you could have some predictability. But as you probably noticed there, it jumps from the far left center all the way to the far right center in one shot. So it's literally just like a random of 9. And it's more luck than skill. But, back for the day, seeing full artifact colors on a basic game in the middle of '82, this was pretty cool. Then on Friday, he did another one, and this one he couldn't get to run. And I faintly remember that when I did my entry on my games page for this one, I had to patch things too. It requires a clear statement to reserve enough string space. Otherwise, they just run, you get no out of string space error, but not until after it's done a bunch of intro stuff and some graphics. And I suggested on the air, I said, try clear 1000 because I couldn't remember what the value was. And that wasn't enough. It's still giving out a string space error. So then he just skipped it and went on to the next game. And it's not that great of a game to begin with, to be honest. But the animation of the graphics at the beginning of the game actually, once again, for basic, are pretty cool. I mean, they're not, slam dunk awesome, but he did a few nice little pouring of flasks of stuff, when you're mixing up your stuff for the alchemy. So I'll just play a little bit of the intro here because that's all you're going to see. He doesn't have actual gameplay.
Anything and everything at this point.
I like the name of his company too. Real Software Company. Is there fake software? I'm not aware of that.
Alchemist Laboratory loads with minimal ominous music. This is the first and maybe only video game we're going to see by Real Software Company. Since we have no idea who did this, is this a Real Software Company at all? Like, do we even know if this is a real thing?
So it does like pouring things and it kind of blows up. So not bad for
shelves
basic.
Of chemicals, lead bars, and a mixing bowl. 2 sets of cells are covered with metal
And it's pretty
grills.
random too.
By
Basically, you pick
chemicals from the
between
first
these
group,
different.
You open the grill. What's your blood, gypsy?
So you have this stuff on your shelf here. You've got 3 of each of the main ingredients: fairy tears, giant sweat, gypsy blood, witch oil, holy water, etc. And then as you use them, it drops your quantity down. So you have to try to guess a combination. Your ultimate goal is to make a philosopher's stone, which of course, from legend is it'll convert lead to gold type thing. But like I said, it crashed on him. So
my software company is called Vaporware Limited.
Only limited vaporware, though. That means you sometimes come up with stuff.
Yeah, every once in a while.
You need vaporware unlimited, where you never release nothing ever. Just promise it. Next up, and the last one for the game section here is Dominoes by Jim Gary for the MC-10. So this is a port of a Dominoes game that originally was for the Commodore PET. And this was written by D.N. Smith, and it first appeared in the February 1982 issue of Your Computer Magazine, which is a magazine from the UK that Jim's been just plowing through and doing all kinds of ports. Of course, he gussied it up a little bit because the PET was using Petsky graphics, so he did some semi-graphics here and added some color. And I'll just fast forward a little bit to the actual gameplay. This is a bit more of the instructions. Now, ironically enough, I did have domino sets at home. The only thing I ever used them for was for making the big rows of them. So you hit the one, and if they flick and fall and draw a pattern on your floor. I never learned actually how to play the game. I don't know if anybody else had that experience, or if you guys actually did learn to play dominoes. So I'm not sure exactly what you do here. I haven't actually looked at it too close. How does one play dominoes? Like, what do you do to actually play it rather than just draw pictures on the floor?
You match the numbers.
Yeah,
match the numbers.
Oh, okay. So, like, if you have a 2 and a 4, you have to have a 4 or 2 or something.
Or 2.
Have a 3-2, then there's a 2-2, then there's a 2-5 along the top row, and then a 5.
You're really faint, Rick.
Oh, geez. So yeah, if you look along the top row, there's the dominoes all matching up. Blank to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 2.
So it's kind of like Scrabble, and you have to build on what's already there. And of course, if you can't make it fit, Scrabble, you make words, and dominoes, you match the numbers. And the first person to run out of tiles, the first person who runs out of tiles usually wins.
Okay, so actually that sounds like a nice simple game I could actually learn.
Aren't doubles supposed to be able to add branches by turning sideways?
Yeah, most people turn them sideways. Yeah, then you can go.
And then you go from having one branch on either side to having 4 branches, so you can wind up with all sorts of craziness.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I never bothered to learn it. It's just you'd watch those world record things, like we're going to make a thing with 150,000 dominoes, and you have to hit the first one, and hopefully nothing screws up and it finishes the whole thing off and draws patterns of the sun, or it goes up hills and knocks over balls, and that kick starts the next one. That was what I liked doing. I had multiple sets that I actually used for doing very simple versions of that, but I never learned to play the damn game. So, hey, thanks for educating me, because now I know. Anyway, if you want to try
the battle.
Oh God! I didn't do it.
Hey, that's it for the Game On news. So let me switch over to the regular. So as I mentioned at the top of the news here, Retro Rewind now has in stock the CoCo SDC. $75 US, it's 101 or 106 or something Canadian, because our dollar's been sucking lately more than normal. But they're in stock, and like I said, he manufactured over 30 of them. He sold, I think, 4 last night, pretty well right as soon as he kind of let people know. And I'm assuming he's probably sold some more since then. But they are in stock, and now that he's switched to this new, more modernized way of manufacturing them, he should be able to crank these out a lot faster than he has in the past, because there was a lot of hand soldering before. There's still some, but the big chips and stuff are all surface mount now, so it's much, much easier, much faster for them to generate.
And if you look carefully at the scroll on your screen, you'll see a 10% discount.
Oh, you mean on the main screen everybody's watching?
Yeah, the green thing.
I'm scrolling here. What are you talking about? Yeah, we have a discount code with him because he's a sponsor of the show. So if you use that at checkout, you can get 10% off. And he's got some, Tandy software and hardware here. He's got stuff for the Commodores, 64, 128, 16, VIC-20, and the Amiga as well. So if you have any of those other retro machines, you can use it too. But he's also got like 609 CPUs. He's got the diagnostic cart. If you're like me and don't like soldering, you can actually get him to install a 609 by sending your machine to him, and he'll get it installed for you and tested and working and ship it back. And then he's also got capacitor kits, the diagnostic cart, recap service if you need that. Most CoCos don't need that, but occasionally you'll get one that has a few dead ones. So I'm glad, because Frank went through a pretty rough second half of the year last year. His house got flooded a couple of times, and he actually got, a lot of equipment damage. He even had some, computers received for repair that got damaged from the floods, and he had to scramble trying to, find replacements for the people that sent them in. I mean, it's not really his fault, but just kind of bad luck. So it's been a while catching up. He's been catching up on all the Commodore stuff, the Amiga stuff, and the CoCo stuff, and now he's got the CoCo SCC up and going again. I know there's been a lot of requests about it the last few months.
And on the screen right now is that discount code.
Cool. Oh, by the way, Frank in the chat says if you forget to use a discount code, that he's fine with that. Okay, so after that, the first of the regular stuff. Grayson Walker posted a short basic program on how to draw circles on the low-res screen. Now, if you remember Color Basic, I mean, a lot of people who got CoCo 2s got Extended Basic right off the bat, so they never had to deal with just Color Basic. But that's the old 64 by 32 by 9 color mode. And the only commands you had there was CLS, set, and reset. There's no line, there's no circle, there's no paint. So Grayson published this little tiny short listing using sine and cosine, sine and cosine here to draw circles in BASIC. So if you want to actually draw a circle on there, you just send it this little program, and you designate the coordinates and the size, and you can use that in your own programs as a little routine. Well, it was pretty cool. I did not understand how the trig functions worked when I was really young, so I didn't know how to draw a circle. I would draw it manually by plotting the points, seeing where they looked on the screen, and seeing if they actually looked like a circle, and adjust accordingly. Next up, Jim Jewett published this animation, he said, of a scout walker. Now, he's got this overclocked because I think he's using draw statements on this one. But you can get it animated this fast on a real CoCo without, having massive overclocking, etc. If you use the even byte get put buffer boundary for the horizontal positions. That's a bit of a trick that was published in Rainbow. We've covered it on CoCo Tech before too, where it's literally multiple times faster than doing the regular get puts. It does take more memory, especially in this particular case, because there's quite a few animation frames, but it's not a huge shape. And I mean, I've used get put using that method to actually, get the entire screen and scroll it, the entire high res screen. So, I mean, you can have a get put buffer 6K and move the entire screen in one shot. And that can be done several times per second. So this actually should animate just fine, but just to play it, it's a pretty cool effect. I like the animation he did. Especially the turning, like he took the time to draw the multiple frames. All right, so that was really cool. And there's his actual announcement of it and some discussion about it. Next up, Brenda. Oh, geez, I used to know how to pronounce her last name. Is it Maker or Mackie? I can't remember. My apologies, Brenda. But she mentioned on January 18th, so just after the show of last week, it was warm enough in the rest of the house to take apart my CoCo 3. I wasn't looking forward to opening a 1987 computer that is nearly dead mint and even smells like the plastic, but it's done. I measured it for the 3D printable CoCo 3 replacement case. I even got the chance to use the 3D printed radius gauge set that I downloaded. I caught what would have been a bad mistake. The keyboard opening was way too big. So I need to design some kind of keyboard support, hopefully interchangeable. At least the Measured Sans keyboard is drawn and checked once so far. So she's actually designing a 3D printable case. And there's the kind of the schematic for it. And yes, those three are 3 of the 6 fan placements. So she's actually planning on having fan support. If you want to run one of the old Disto 1 meg or 2 meg upgrades that ran quite hot. And then we're actually working on the 3D print itself. And there you go. You can see kind of this is all modernized for almost like a Pi or something here with, I think it's SD slots there.
Like it.
Now, I know John Strong and a few others have done some full-size cases before, but their printers are small. I think they have to do 2 halves and kind of stick them together. This looks to be one big piece. So are those bigger printers getting to be more common and more affordable nowadays? I don't follow 3D printing that much, so I'm not sure, but I was wondering for you guys that do, is that something that is starting to become more available?
Well, from what I understand, they're very much available. They're just still very much expensive.
Okay. So you don't think they've come down in price for that size quite yet?
I mean, I haven't looked into space that much, but I would say you're looking at least 750 USD for something that's going to do something that size.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the last time I looked, which is several years back, and it was just for looking for a store. I have no desire to get a 3D printer myself. But I think they were like 1,500 to $2,000 for something that would do this size. So that sounds like they are coming down, just not quite enough to be hobbyist level, I guess.
Ender 3, $300. Large format, $3,000. Okay.
Yeah, and there's probably different, degrees of large format as to how large.
Yeah, there's a big gap between the little hobby ones and then the next one up. That's the $800. Yeah. What Henry said.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like several of you on the panel have 3D printers or have experience with them, right? Like Henry, you think you have one?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, I've got one. It's an Ender 3 VK something or other, but it's your standard like about 250 millimeters by 250 millimeters by 250 millimeters. So.
Okay. Does anybody else on the panel have 3D printers? If so, what size maximum can yours do? Just out of curiosity.
I'm another Ender 3 boy, so about Yo's biggest square.
Okay, so more like for cartridge size projects than a computer case.
Mine will do about half of a case at a shot, as far as the sizes are concerned. Well, I'm sorry, I should say about a quarter of a case at a shot, because I did this one case project for another guy that was about the same size as a CoCo 3, and it came in 4 quadrants. So like you had the upper quadrants, you had the lower quadrants, and you had to bolt the things together.
And it's also the time it takes to encompass that space. So in Ender 3, you could do a case in about 4 days.
I don't know. I got mine done because my Ender's a bit quicker. I got mine done in about, I don't know, 8 hours.
That's quick.
Just looking in the chat here too. First, a little bit on the CoCo SDC update from Frank, and then also on to 3D printers. So Sixy had asked, Frank, so is it now a Rev D? You're talking about the CoCo SDC. I think we determined everything that had been sold since Darren's first run was a Rev C. And Frank says, Darren's last Rev was C. D is our sad redesign, as he calls it. But he says, and shortly there will be a CoCo SDC 2. That sounds intriguing. And then Frank says, a decent printer to print that big is at least $1,000. A better one would be $1,500. Trust me, we have 12 of them in a farm. So apparently if you want some 3D printing done, maybe talk to Frank. And then he gives some specific brand stuff here, which I'll let you guys talk to them. That's out of my pay grade. Next up, TRC Retro Programming. He's taking a bit of a break from his main game projects. He's got multiple ones on the go here. And he's actually working on some routines in BASIC to do mapping. Like mapping backgrounds if you're going through like some of his games or an RPG style game where you're traveling through maps and actually to update the maps on the screen and using scaling and stuff if you want to zoom up onto them using the draw commands built-in scaling. And he was doing this kind of like live off the cuff type thing, so there's a lot of backtracking and fixing stuff up. It's kind of like watching Henry's videos when he's working on his Flex and stuff like that, except this is like live in real time, and Henry speeds it up so you don't get tortured for 4 hours watching him code. So I won't play anything from the first one here because he was kind of figuring stuff out and trying to remember a few things too. The second video is where he actually started showing you some of the scaled stuff here. So he drew a grid, and this is where you would be drawing your connecting lines of stuff of paths or whatever else. And just for a joke, he kind of drew Cleveland is what he says and paints it. But then he scales it so you can see it at 4 different scales. And this is all built in with the draw command. Like the scaling is actually built in, so you don't have to do all the weird calcs yourself.
Program
actually doesn't look too bad
for now anyways. Full scale, quarter, half, 3/4, back to full scale, go down to 3/4, down to half, down to quarter, or anywhere.
Well, that's kind of a nifty way of using it if you want to like have a zoom up of a map. Say you're doing an RPG and you're wandering around, you want to zoom up, say, the contents of a town. which on the main map would be a small little, set of a couple squares or something along with whatever pathways and trees and mountains, whatever you want. But then you can actually literally just tell it to scale up the draw command string to draw the full outline of the town and maybe some buildings within it without actually having to have a separate routine and a separate set of commands to draw it. So for those who hadn't thought of that as an option of using the draw command, it's actually quite nice that all that stuff's built in. You can even do like 90-degree rotations of it too. That's built in as well with the angle command. Anyway, you can check those out. They're both about 3/4 of an hour of kind of stream of consciousness, figuring out as you go type thing. But he did get it working in the end, and I think the results are pretty good. He added some painting it in, filling it in if you want to just fill in the outline with a solid color. Next up, we have Terry Trapp. I haven't heard from him in a while, but he's done some videos before on YouTube on his channel, and he returned on Facebook here to show us some pictures of an XNOR circuit to create composite sync out on a CoCo 3. This is composite sync plus RGB, which allows, now you guys in the hardware sphere can help me with what the heck this is because I don't know, a GBS 8200 chip that it uses to output CoCo 3 RGB output. And there's some screenshots he's got of that in the comments, which I'll show in a second here. So it sounds like to me, it's kind of like Jason's CoCoBiz SCART adapter, but he's planning it for output for stuff like VGA and a few other things instead that can use that same type of a signal, but not necessarily need the whole SCART thing.
Yeah, GBS is the circuit board that what's it called? Begins with a K.
Well, they use it in arcade cabinets.
Right.
But that composite sync, that's because the CoCo outputs a separate horizontal and vertical sync, and those GBS boards need a composite sync. So where we normally would hook up the video output from the CoCo to get that, he's actually got a circuit by the sounds of it that'll combine and create its own composite sync by merging the horizontal and vertical.
But you don't need that.
And I think inverting one of them or something, yeah.
It's got a pretty crisp, clear picture here. Like it looks like it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The GBS board outputs in VGA. So.
Anyway, like I said, he has something in the comments here. So let me just. Because people were asking, like, how does it compare with like the SCART solution type thing? But he was showing like 80 columns on, which is not too bad. Which comment did he have in here?
I think
so that's pretty nice and clean.
I think the GBS is like keeping it all analog, whereas the SCART converts it to digital for the HDMI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so VGA analog all the way through.
But that's a very readable 80 column. Like that matches what I'm getting on my Gimme X, which has got VGA output as well. Almost looks like an MM1. Teaser for those of you who didn't watch Joel Evie's presentation earlier today. He actually has his M1 on display.
I'm gonna see if I can get him on a CoCo Tech and get a couple hours with it.
Is that on the Facebook page, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, this particular screenshot here is from in the comments because some people were asking, like the examples he was kind of showing were just the 32 column screen, which can look pretty good even with like a really good composite circuit or a component circuit. But this is actually getting up into 640 res. So also a bit of a teaser here. Did you notice he's got Last Ninja stuff on here? What is that about?
Oh, is someone excited?
Well, I don't know if it's just like, if it's dumps of disk images or it's just dumps of pictures from the original videos that were shown or what that is, but kind of interested in that. Won't lie.
What is there?
Hey, good to see Terry back, as I haven't seen any videos from him, I think, in almost a year now.
I'm trying to find that. Is that on the standard Facebook page?
Yeah, it's in the just regular Color Computer group. I've got the direct link to the story in the show notes, which I did upload, thanks to Mark's reminding me.
All right.
Thank you.
If you want to grab it from the Discord. And the next up, we have Mauricio Mate. You may recall it was last week or the week before we covered that he was doing some new CP400 joysticks that were based on the original CP400 design. Now, CP400, of course, is a literal CoCo clone in Brazil as far as the hardware goes, but it kind of uses a Timex, 2068 style case. And there's two versions of CP400, which has the chiclet keys you see in this photo. And they also had the more full keyboard with CP400-2. But he's actually created red, green, and blue versions of this joystick. So you can actually, it's a full analog, fully compatible with the CoCo Black Beauties. It's got two alternative fire buttons, though you can pick if you're left-handed or right-handed, which the CoCo ones, of course, do not have. But I think they look pretty darn good. Go ahead. Sorry.
I said, unless you do the mod to where then you do get the second button on the CoCo 1, 2s, and Dragons.
That's true. You can wire it in on the PIA and duplicate the two buttons for the CoCo 3 uses. As some people have mentioned, though, one of the most interesting things here is he's got the CP450 floppy drives, which are quite rare in the background.
Ooh, you mentioned floppy drive.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, folks.
Oh, no. Now you've triggered him.
Hey, they look really good. The colors and stuff here look really nice. I don't know. Has anybody here on the panel ordered any of these or received any of these CP400? I think Brian Weezer might have one, if I remember correctly. Maybe one of the originals. I don't know if Brian's still on the call, though.
Yes, I have a one of the red and the is it red and green? I think is what it is. Yeah, I have a
yeah, the originals I think were, and he's got this sort of cyanish blue one now as well.
Yep. Yeah,
basically, if you look at the three color bars on the actual CP400 case, he's trying to exactly match those as much as he can. Do you find them? Do they handle the same as a Black Beauty, or do they feel a little bit better ergonomically in the hand?
Essentially the same. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel. I think the sticks. I don't have them. No, I don't have it here with me. It's not in the room with me right now, but basically the same. I mean, I can go grab them if you want me to go circle back here in a few minutes.
No, I was just wondering like how they actually play it, because I've never actually tried one, and having the two buttons on the sides of the back of the joystick as opposed to dead center like the Black Beauty has, I didn't know if that made a difference playing. I mean, obviously it should help if you're left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah.
So the green one's an imposter.
Well, no, like I said, he's basically, these are new ones that are based on the original design, 3D printed, etc. But with matches the logo now.
It's got different stuff than the red one and the blue one. Are these the ones where you could get either spring return or not spring return, but not both? So it's not adjustable?
I don't think they were spring return.
No, I don't think they were either. But
I mean, these particular ones he's
making. That's an option. Yeah.
I believe there's an option, and I can see they've got two different kinds of sticks in here.
Yeah, you're like this little, well, I don't know what you would call this here, but that's missing on this one, just smooth.
All right, so maybe that's a spring one and a non-spring one.
I did notice like one of the comments from Christian Hoffetz here says, are the RGB joysticks new? I had those exact same CP400, but my joysticks were gray. And I do remember we saw even the original was sold with some of the color ones. So obviously they had some other options too, where you can just get plain gray ones where they match too. Anyway, they look good. Just like nice 3D printed, color matches the keyboard and the logo. So I don't know if he's actually selling these yet, or if he just got the plans out there for people to make their own.
You know, what would be interesting to see is if those joysticks support the corners like the Deluxe, where you could get that perfect corner notching.
Yeah, I mean, it's a round top of the case there, so it'd be more like the Black Beauty style, where you don't have a corner per se.
Aim for the bezel screws, you'll be good.
Okay, next up after that, we have Carlito Camacho. He said he used a large language model, so an AI thing, to create a simple JavaScript program that allows me to select a sprite PNG, but then converts it to P-Mode 3 green, yellow, blue, and red. So basically a P-Mode 3 standard 4-color palette for CoCo 1 and 2. It spits out the data statements I need. I've also had the ability to resample the sprite to smaller size. He said it needs to tweak a few more things and then upload. So this is one of the better uses of AI I've seen. And he's got a bit of an example here. And some of the auto scaling kind of happening. Now, the scaling, I don't know, I think you might have to tweak that a little bit just because, a scaling algorithm may not do, create prominence for certain parts, like a little laser gun or something that you might need, like an example, spaceships and aliens and stuff here. But That'd be a pretty cool little utility to have, because then you could design your stuff on a modern PC, save it in ping format, run this, and it creates, the exact data statements you need to put it into a CoCo program. So once he releases the actual code for you to try, maybe we'll get somebody to experiment and see how well it works. Next up, Mark Malteus. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. My apologies if I am not. He posted a disk image in the CoCo Facebook group that contains a variety of basic programs that draw graphics based on trigonometry. I will mention I did try a couple of these just briefly. Some of them do require CoCo 3. Most, I think, are CoCo 1 and 2. But they do, fancy 3D, plotting of sine and cosine to draw like the hat and, that kind of stuff. So if you're into the, trigonometric visuals, there's some pretty cool ones on here. And the disk image is available in the Color Computer CoCo Facebook group. It's in the downloads files section. Next up, we've got a deep dive into the network drive functionality in FujiNet by Thomas Cherry Holmes himself. And this is over an hour long, hour and a quarter. And it's running all the samples, etc., on the Atari 8-bit, because that's where it was all created in the first place. So it's the most advanced of them. But this goes into explaining how the entire N drive mapping, so you can map virtual, network drives, etc. It also goes into showing some examples of it running stuff like HTTP, FTP, SMB shares, that kind of stuff. So it's a really good deep dive. I'll just play a little bit where he kind of introduces what it's about. But if you're interested in the FujiNet or kind of where it's going, you definitely want to check out this video, because it's kind of, some of the stuff in here is not on the CoCo yet, but will be.
Cherry Holmes with the FujiNet project. And I need to record a rather lengthy video today. So thankfully, I'll be placing chapter markers all throughout the video here. But the idea here is for me to kind of do a rather lengthy video showing the network device, that is the end device on Atari systems, putting it into perspective and how it fits with the other devices that you may have on the system and the other devices that FujiNet provides. How all this is used in context. So
I mean, like I said, it goes into deep dive. He's actually got chapter markers if you're just interested in a certain part. He's got lists here like existing CI devices, pre-made DOS disks using the N colon, loading a basic game off of a web server using FTP, compiling action code from the network using the SMB adapter to access a Windows sharer, and a bunch of other stuff here. It's fairly technical. This is not like a casual, here's what the FujiNet can do like some of the other videos that have been done. This is kind of a deep dive into the most advanced of the platforms, because this is the one that originated on. But stuff like this, you'll be seeing probably in the CoCo version at some point fairly soon, if some of it's in there already, I believe. So it definitely gives you a bit of a future as to where it's going and what it's capable of doing from a technical standpoint. Well, hey, I just want to catch up a little bit in the chat here, because a whole flurry of stuff went by. Talking about the 3D printers. Frank says we have 4 Prusa XLs that are about 380 by 380 millimeter. Those are about 2K each. Brian Walsh says an SVL3 will print 350 by 350. If tuned correctly, it should be able to print a full-size CoCo 3 case. Paul Fiscarelli says he has a Creality.
Yep, Creality CR-M4.
Yeah, which does 450 by 450 by 470. It'll handle a full-size case print. He said it's what? Go ahead.
I looked at the price on that one. It's under $1,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. He said it's what I used to print the full-size keyboard case I was showing at Tandy Assembly. Eric Montero mentions that Mauricio's joysticks on the CP400. He says, I will be getting mine from him in a few days. We'll bring it over for show and tell, so he'll actually show it and demo to us. And he also mentions that some of them are auto centers, others are not. There are both options. He's currently getting the non-centering ones. And then Barry Nelson, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back to the show there. He says you don't need a circuit to get a composite sync from a CoCo 3. Just use the composite video signal as a sync signal. That's what my design for the SCART adapter does. Now, David Ladd, if you're still on the call, there was something about the colors getting blown out in the original circuit that I think has to get fixed. Otherwise, you don't get the full range of colors. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. It's because SCART has a 1 volt peak to peak on the RGB lines, where the CoCo 3 has a 2 volt peak to peak. So when I was having those difficulties, I went out looking for other fixes, and there was something that came up for SCART that was related to gaming consoles, the old ones like the Sega, the Super Nintendo. There was a whole bunch of those old gaming consoles at that time that had RGB outs on their stuff. So I just looked at the stuff, made up my own little thing, and I played with the resistors until I got something that looked like it worked. And of course, this is where Nick's Hopstar Pilot came in handy, which is how I noticed it, because the red checkerboard in the background didn't show up as a checkerboard. It was just all red. So
yeah, I remember at G Show, like we used the grayscale as the default color set for the 3D look, and it was blown out in spots. You couldn't even read the text and stuff because it was really, really bad, because it was basically only displaying black, one shade of gray and white. And there's definitely some subtleties that require both shades of gray. So it's just about some resistor settings you have to change. That's about the only.
Well, the capacitors and the resistors that are needed on the RGB lines.
Okay. Like I do know that's been published a few times, but I have noticed that some people like doing YouTube videos and trying to build these circuits themselves aren't aware of the changes that were done to kind of like fine tune it to get that best display where you do get all the colors. So I don't know if there's a repository central place to get the schematic with all the updates, but
I believe I responded to one of the old mailing list messages, and of course I believe those are in a permanent repository by who runs the email list, so it's out there in text form.
Okay, Barry just mentioned in the chat, he said he thinks he updated his article with the new resistor values. Barry, I don't think you can post URLs in the chat, but if you want to email me directly the URL, I can maybe throw it into the chat a little bit later here, just so that people can actually find your article with the hopefully the fixed one. I don't want to give the bad one out, but if you do have the updated one, I'll post a link.
Yeah, and one of the other things I like doing with the SCART is, especially when I was doing stuff at the CoCo Fest, is I'd have two monitors, and I'd have a composite monochrome monitor hooked up to the composite as well. And so under like Nitrous 9, I'd set the palette, the monitor mode to monochrome, which still loads the RGB values, but it shuts off the color burst on the composite. And I seem to actually get a more stable image on the SCART on the sync when the color burst is gone.
Okay, yeah, because there's a monochrome bit on one of the gimme registers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but that's just my input there.
Well, I wanted to bring you into that because I remember you discovered what to do to fix that. Because if you're just doing like basic colors, like an old CoCo 1 and 2 semi-graphics game, or maybe not semi-graphics, but a low-res screen or something, then it seemed to work fine. The colors were pretty well dead on, but when you're getting the subtleties of the colors for the 4 values for RG and B, some of those were getting lost, and you were the first one I know that figured out the fix, and I think you showed it on the show back when it was still CoCo Talk.
Yes. The biggest thing is with the cables when you are switching between RGB and composite. The nice thing is the SCART box is for composite. Well, composite's composite, so it's going to do the translation for the artifacts on its own. But it's the one thing a lot of people don't realize is that on those SCART boxes, there are some SCART boxes out there that look like the ones that a lot of us have been using that only do composite. So they don't do RGB. And so anybody that buys one that specifically doesn't say it does RGB, and you flip the switch and the video looks like crap, it's not the cable, it's the box, because you've got a composite only box. So, and trust me, 80 column, you'll know when you when you have one that only does composite.
That is very, very true.
So, but that's the only inputs I can really give. Jason has the better experience with dealing with the SCART boxes and the different models he's probably tested. So
Yeah, that's why he won't sell you one.
oh yes, yes.
Yeah, because it's just a bunch of returns because it's crapshoot whether you get one that supports the RGB or not.
Exactly. So you can deal with the Amazon guy yourself if he sold you a better.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot when you're dealing with those, and I personally probably wouldn't order them off of eBay. I probably go through Amazon, so that way if you do get one that's doesn't work for the RGB, at least you can send it back.
Yeah. Barry just posted to in the chat. He says, and this is a quote from his updated article on his site, which I haven't got the link for yet, unfortunately, but it says, "It has been called to my attention that the circuit works better with the fix outlined below, courtesy of David Ladd. Additional parts needed," and he goes through resistors and stuff. So,
well, that was very nice of Barry to include my name in there. But yeah, the if
Sixty goes, yeah, 80 columns fully readable on one of my CoCo 3s through composite. That's a PAL one.
Well, of course. Or if you're using a monitor and you turn off the color burst,
yes,
then composite can do the 80 column too. So
yeah, it also helps with colors you pick too.
My old Magnavox color television had a color killer button on the back. If you push that, 80 columns. So yeah.
Yeah, my Magnavox Pro series that came with my MM1 when I got it has a switch for killing the color burst.
Yeah.
So it's just
but of course it also has two separate inputs for the chroma luminance, so technically I could make an S video cable for it.
Yeah, Gimme X has S video too. It's got 5 outputs, so you got a pretty good wide variety of what you want to pick from. And they all use the RGB palette, which is really nice.
Well, to tell you the truth, for me, when on my one channel, when I did have a chance to do some streaming with the CoCo 3, that's actually what I used was Ed Snyder's first generation S video adapter that he made for the CoCo 3s. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick, your mic volume is still on 2.
Yeah, really low.
Okay.
There you go.
Sweet. This microphone does what it wants. Sorry about that, folks.
Sounds like Zoom. All right, next up, we've got some MC10 stuff. So the first one, of course, is Jim Gary. This is not game related. So a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, he did a bunch of stuff based on Nova Scotia, some different flags they have for, the cities and the province itself, etc. So he's added one here and redid the demo. So this, I won't play the whole thing here because we've kind of seen it before, but he added one more flag to this, adding the Cape Breton flag. And I can't remember if he did that as the first one or the last one. Of course, these low res done on the MC10, but they actually look pretty decent. They're definitely recognizable. Yeah, there's a Cape Breton one. Whoop. So we added that. So there's a more complete set now. And it just goes on infinite loop and keeps displaying them over and over. Next up on the MC10, Robert Sieg. I haven't seen him in a while, so welcome back, Robert, as well. And he's been somebody who's been very active in the MC10 realm, and then I guess took a bit of a break. So he's made a new converter program for the VMC10 emulator. And this example he's showing here is a 128 by 96 4 color, so P mode 1 essentially from the CoCo side of things, which is a conversion from a 24-bit color version of a picture of a black hole. So it's a recognizable shape, and of course with only 4 colors compared to 16 million, you're not going to get the greatest color translation, but it actually works pretty good. And he goes, if you pick some images that are going to be closer to a palette that would match what the MC10 has, you can actually get some pretty good results, and you just convert it down, basically running this little utility he wrote. So it'd be interesting to see what other kind of images and stuff he can do and how they look. He's done a bit of this before when we've covered some of his other converter programs, but this is this one runs with the MCX 128, it says here. Took a few days to find the right code. Modifying it was surprisingly easy once I found the right code. Here's a picture of the black hole I converted for the MC10. I really like how it turned out that there are many settings in the program to choose from. Give it a like if you see more of these. If you have an idea or image to convert, suggest it in the comments so that you can do that on the MC10 group on Facebook. And now we'll switch to some Dragon news. So Julian Brown, which is one of the two people that's been doing updated versions of motherboards for the Dragon. Karen's the other one. I think Karen's doing this Dragon 64 and Julian's doing the Dragon 32. So he's got a couple of updates here on his modernized motherboards for the Dragon 32. And the first one here, I'll just read it for those who are on audio and can't see this. Discussing the Rev 3 with Ian Wellock, and I've challenged myself on whether the design could be incorporated disc controller instead of using the cartridge port as a plug-in device. Little aside, the very first CoCo 3 prototype boards that Microware received, which had a whole bunch of chips instead of a gimme, also had a built-in disc controller. And of course, the Deluxe CoCo is going to have a built-in disc controller, so this has got some precedence. Mapping the controller interface to memory is simple enough given I have disambiguated the address space for PIAs. This leads to a where do I put the extra ROM question. Can I squeeze this into a standard 8K ROM image? Or can I create a ROM paging system by reusing the same basic mechanism as the 256K banker board? The MPI port sort of does this, very sort of. The next question then is how to operate ROM pages without breaking everything. The question was raised before on how to use the basic lookup vectors to include a ROM page reference so that this can all happen automatically without extra messing, but that in turn breaks the original ROM again. Now, I'm assuming the Dragon's ROM is somewhat similar to the way the CoCo's works. I know it might be mapped differently, especially on the Dragon 64, because I know their basic allowed a 40K basic because they had 40K continuous RAM first. But we had 16K of internal ROM for color basic, extended basic, and then the disk ROM was mapped above that separately as a separate 8K. So, I don't know, could you put, like a CoCo 3 has a 32K ROM, which includes super extended basic stuff. Could you just make a bigger ROM that has the entire thing put together and then maintain compatibility that way? I'm not sure how that works, if it's any different on the Dragon. Anyway, there's a bit of a discussion on that. And then his second update here, having spent lots of hours figuring out how to simplify and reduce the cost of integrating an FPGA in the board design, I've realized I've been wasting my time and I should have looked to see if someone else had already done the work for me. The answer, of course, is yes, and it costs less than I can buy the actual FPGA itself for, which means I get the carrier board, components, and fabrication for free, not to mention it comes with 32 meg of RAM on board, that is 16-bit though, and is split into 8 banks. Even still, a single bank matches the 4 meg target of the original design, and that's an AliExpress link for that. So I haven't had a chance to look too much into this, and of course I'm not a hardware guy either, but that sounds pretty cool that he found something that was pretty well already prefabricated. So I'm going to bring this up here. I don't know exactly what it's going to show.
Oh, the Tang Nano 20K.
Okay, you know about this? Good, because I know nothing. So.
Yeah, because the Tang Nanos are, you've got the 4K, the 9K, and the 20K, and those are really, really inexpensive FPGA development boards. Now that 43 cents Canadian you're seeing is absolutely incorrect. You're going to pay a bit more than that. Let's hit that 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit the last one over. The last color over there. Yeah, not there. Down, over. Oh shoot, I can't point at it for you. The one that's right next to the SD card, up there on the top.
This?
Not that one. Over one more, and one more. And click that. There we go. Yeah, so that's got your everything that you're going to need, including the pin headers, the data cables, and everything like that. You're looking at like well, you're looking at 43 Canadian for that. I think I can pick one up.
Like
USD.
$29 or something like that?
A bit more than that, maybe close to 30. It's about the same price as, say, a Pi 02. But what you're getting there is 20,000, roughly 20,000 logic units on the board. And that's going to be enough to implement just about anything you want to implement as far as if you want to implement a 6309 core, if you want to implement basically the whole computer on one FPGA, that'll do it for you. And you've got the HDMI port there that I'm not sure if that has to bit bang it or not, but there's a few things that you can do with it. So
I was hoping I actually have real specs yet. It doesn't really tell me all that much.
you kind of have to look at the you kind of have to look at the FPGA itself, because the specs on an FPGA board are going to be not what you're used to looking at.
Okay. I find it interesting here. It's mentioning this development board, RISC-V Linux retro game player. So is this popular in the gaming community for something?
It's going to be, well, it's AliExpress, so they're hitting as many keywords as they possibly can. You can put most any 8-bit, most any 8-bit system, you're going to be able to more or less fit on that FPGA board. It may not be everything that you need for everything, but it's going to get you close.
Okay. Anyway, it sounds like it's going to make Julian's life a heck of a lot easier and cheaper even than his doing it all on his own. So
yeah, those FPGAs they're using on there are really, really inexpensive.
What's Julian making?
He's doing a Dragon 32 upgrade. Like he's done the replacement board now, kind of like Pedro did with the CoCo 1, 2, and 3.
So now, interesting fact. I just went over there, and what I'm seeing is, give me a second here to switch over what camera.
You want me to let you share your screen, or?
I just need to switch over my camera.
Okay.
Let's see, and I cut to that, and I turn on my pip, and then lets me make sure. Okay, yeah. So this is what I got when I followed his link. Was the QM-Tech Xilinx FPGA core board.
Let me stop sharing so Mark can zoom you up so people can see you. Just a second.
Yeah. What happened there? Oh, there we go. That's better. So yeah, this is what I'm seeing when I hit the link. And so yeah, AliExpress.com item HTML. Yeah, let me copy that over. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the QM-Tech link for this, and that's $30 for an Arctic 7 SDRAM core board. That's not bad at all. So if he's looking at this one, or if he's looking at the Tang Nano, but the Xilinx Arctic 7, that's definitely big enough to do what you want to do.
Cool.
So, and that actually has, yeah, there's your WinBond, whatever the heck that is. What is that, 30?
That's the RAM?
That's your 32 megs right there. There's your Arctic 7. Yeah, this has got to be what he was talking about.
Okay. I don't know why my link was different. That's weird.
It's AliExpress. God only knows what it's doing.
Right. they do what they want as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this looks more like what he's looking at with that, and that's actually $30 US for one of those.
Awesome.
Yeah, shipping February 20th. I have no idea what.
Yeah,
I'm
and that's
doing
an FPGA and RAM. You know, like it's everything all packed into one little.
Yeah, and he's saying this is no longer available. But if he managed to find this and managed to get it, or managed to get something like it, then it's no wonder. But yeah, whoa, get that out of the way.
Cool. So I'm glad somebody had some experience with that, because I wouldn't have had a clue what to say there. Okay. Hey, if you want to join the discussion, if you're in the Dragon group on Facebook, Julian posts on there quite regularly. So does John Whitworth, two of the main hardware guys on the Dragon side of things. So you can follow all their work there. Next up on the World of Dragon, Zephyr is his username. Uploaded the cartridge version of Simon Jonason's Tandy assembly demo for the Dragon, because some people were asking for some demos to show at some shows in Europe. And it can run on a 64K Dragon after running a ROM to RAM copy utility, which Zephyr also supplied. And basically, if you remember that Tandy assembly demo, I think that's one that's got like rotating cubes and some other stuff. Like, it's not just a plasma demo, it's multiple things. Like, it's a more full-fledged demo. And he's actually got it, the actual download of the zip is available here. And the utility he's got is over here as a separate download. And this is a little bit interesting to me, because I mean, I've seen a lot of the 64K RAM things that we run on the CoCo, which basically just turns it into RAM mode, copies the ROMs over so you can patch them, and that's all it does. This goes a little bit further. It does the same thing, of course, where it copies the ROMs to RAM and leaves it in 64K RAM mode, but it also patches it itself so that when you hit the reset hardware button, it doesn't screw it up or lose it. It actually comes back 64K RAM mode as if it was just normal. He mentions here that the only way to force the computer to go back to 32 came out other than powering it off and on again is a couple of pokes you can do. But you can actually do like the cold reset poke that people got used to doing before to do a cold reset, and it'll actually will carry over the RAM copy of it even after that. So it's actually quite a nice little patch. You said the patch ROM also has a routine which accurately emulates the FIRQ in order to be able to auto start cartridges proper or without crashing the computer. So this seems to be a more full version of this type of a patch. And he's got two versions in the zip here. One's for the Dragon 64 or Dragon 32 that's been upgraded with 64K. But he also has a CoCo 1 and 2 version here too, which does the exact same thing. It actually keeps the patches across hitting reset. So for people doing development and stuff, where occasionally your program goes bonkers, and as long as it doesn't overwrite the copies of the ROM, and it gets locked up, you can actually hit reset and not lose everything. So definitely worthwhile maybe check it out. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but oh, there. His real name is Steve Evans, so I want to give him credit. So anyway, you got both of those you can download. You can download his Simon Jonasson patch for the Dragon demo on one of the pages on the World of Dragon forums, and then you can get his 64K RAM utility, ROM to RAM utility on another one. So definitely go grab those. And that latter one, of course, is both for both CoCo and the Dragon. Next up, Arctic Retro, which is a European YouTube channel, and this is their first video of 2025. And he decided to check into some SD card, disk emulators, and he's covering one for the Dragon and one for the MSX, and he does kind of a side-by-side comparison. They're both designed and made by the same people, and the MSX one version originally came out first. And this is not one I'm familiar with. It's not, a CoCo SDC. It's not the more common one of the Dragon. I'm 60 probably knows what the name is off the top of my head. I can't remember. It does have a bit of a front end. It's obviously not as advanced as, say, the XTC Explorer, which is, the pinnacle of for almost all 8-bit machines, honestly. Very well done. But I'll just play the little preamble, then I'll show you a little bit of that interface that he's doing there. Now, he's trying to run some games and stuff here, and he's got his Dragon 32, but unfortunately he doesn't have joysticks, and of course most games require joysticks, so he's not able to play too much, but it does show that it works and how to navigate through directories, etc.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Arctic Retro. This is the first video I make in 2025, so I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone.
And I'll fast forward to some. Now, this one I think also emulates cassette. It's not just discs, and that's something the SDC does not do, but some of the other Dragon ones do. But this is the kind of the interface. So this is like a more old style. It kind of reminds me of the what is it called? The bit something. That there's also a CoCo version of that what's her name makes. Blanking on the name now. But it's got the more primitive old style, kind of similar to the MC10s, I guess. So the interface they have for navigating directories, etc. And just kind of a zoom up. You can go through pages and stuff and go through the different disk images. Now he tries running a few things, and of course, without joysticks, it doesn't work well. And then he goes to the MSX version made by the same people. Now, this one's actually a public domain one. You can actually go onto their GitHub, and here's the description of it, but they've got like the schematics for it and the software for it and everything else you can get there if you want to fiddle with it. It does work on a CoCo 2 as well. He said probably works on a CoCo 1. He hasn't tested it. That should work. There's not much of a difference there as far as this kind of stuff goes. And he's actually done, if you go back to his main pages here, he's actually done these SD card reader floppy emulator things for a multitude of machines, not just the MSX and the Dragon. So he's had a lot of experience with it. He says basically it's pretty cheap and easy. Take a STM32F407 board, US $10 or so before the chip shortage. Wire it into the Dragon 10 cartridge slot, make a FAT32 partition on a micro SD card, put the ROM and disk images on it, plug it into the STM32F4 board, and away you go. So it emulates ROM, cartridges, and floppy disks. For both the Dragon and the CoCo. And he's got, nice big descriptions of how to wire it together, what parts you need, and all that kind of stuff, as well as the software. So interesting project.
You need to have a multi-pack, I take it. to read discs.
Why?
Because
What do you mean to read real discs?
To read, it says it does disk images as well.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's just DSK files on your SD card, same as a CoCo SSD.
Yeah, but that means you need two cartridges. You need the a DOS cartridge and this cartridge. Because when you boot the machine, where does Disk Basic go?
Oh, I assume it's on here. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be on that card. The card would emulate
Because it does emulate a ROM pack too, so you would just put the disk basic ROM in there, same as we did in the SSC, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it says emulates ROMs and floppy disks. And it's a ROM and floppy emulator, so I mean, it should just have the software of the ROM.
Hmm.
I don't know if they have banking like we do on the SSC, but yeah, it says presents a ROM image in real time to the Dragon or Tandy computer such that it thinks a ROM cartridge is attached, and emulates a WD-2797 floppy disk controller. And will emulate Dragon DOS or other DOS ROM card at the same time. Yeah, so it does have the ROM built in. Yeah,
that's what I was looking for.
I thought you were talking about like copying real floppies over or something, which yeah.
No, it does both at the same time. Yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah, but complete source code for the drivers, complete source code or schematics, and information on how to actually make the board yourself. And it sounds like it's pretty cheap if you do it yourself. I wouldn't be worth my mental health issues I'd have trying to solder, but. And next up, a YouTube channel called Daft Blake. She does some various retro things. And one thing she started doing just a few months ago was doing retro chart shows. Now, in the UK, a lot of the computer magazines would publish their top 10, top 20 charts of, the most popular games for that month. The CoCo kind of had that. Computer Shack / Mictron used to do that, but they were very biased to their own software. So, I mean, they did start publishing the chart before they published their own CoCo software themselves. So they were, a lot of Spectral and Tom Mix and that kind of stuff. But once they started publishing their own stuff, like out of the top 10, 7 of them are their own stuff. So definitely somewhat biased. So I think these are more like the Your Computer stuff where they're multi-platform for the most part. Though she does have one special episode, which is the one I'm showing first here, which is actually out of Dragon User Magazine from July of '84. Now I'm having to mute her because she just basically plays the video. She shows some video clips of the game running and what position it's in the chart. But she's actually using period commercial music. So you're going to hear a lot of like Duran Duran and other artists of that era playing in the background, which of course we'll get dinged on if we try to play that. So I've got it muted. But the presentation's kind of nice. And you should also see Dragon 32 Special. So there's Cuthbert and Jones. She also has the artwork for the cover if it's available. And sometimes she'll put up special notes too. And she has this pseudo Amiga interface that gets overlaid over top. And some of these you'll recognize were like on the CoCo side and went to the Dragon. Some of them are unique on the Dragon at the time. Like here's one of the ones where she actually kind of goes through some more special details. In this case, covering the Ring of Darkness by Wintersoft. Kind of a retro-looking, Amiga-style pop-up windows to show the special notes on certain specific games. There's a Periscope is number 8. Mr. Dig, which is a CoCo convert, 7. Dungeon Raid in green color set mode, which is not the one I would have picked, but. So hey, I'll let you go through and you can see what the top 10 were with actual video of the game playing as well as artwork and sometimes some special notes. And then I kind of went back through her previous ones here, and she's got a pretty good mix of ones that are just pick one platform and go what is the top 10 for that month. But then she has some where she does some side-by-side comparisons. You can kind of see what the other machines at the time were doing. And one of those involved the Dragon side-by-side as well. So I will play a little bit of that one. But this is basically a BBC Micro combined with the Dragon 32 and what was the best games, the top 10 in the March 1984 time frame. So you see like Salamander Software's Lost in Space, a Dan Diamond one on the left. That was for the Dragon 32, number 10. And then Killer Gorilla by Micropower for the BBC on the right, which is a Donkey Kong clone. Here's Cutthroat in the Jungle versus the 737 Flight Simulator. And then she gives some details on Cutthroat in the Jungle, which we know is Trapfall. That's Tom Mix. And then Night Flight, which is like a low-res semi-graphics 4 flight simulator. And then Hunchback, which later got ported to the Dragon as well. And then here's the official Frogger versus Philosopher's Quest. But it's kind of interesting just seeing like what kind of games were popular in the UK at the time here, especially on the different platforms, and kind of seeing them side by side. So I find it fascinating. And she seems to be doing these more and more often, more recently. So I'm hoping she keeps doing these because I find these fascinating. And it saves me having to go to the Internet Archive and try to find all these magazines and then find the page number that has the top 10. And then you get a black and white still, if anything, showing what the game looks like. So sometimes she has actual videos of the game playing. So I prefer having that so I can actually see what I'm doing or what the game looks like and then comparing between the platforms. And she's got other special ones for like the Spectrum or the C64 or some other machines as well. Anyway, that's it for the news. I tried not to have too many open-ended discussions because I did want to have a bit of a break, so I can grab a quick bite to eat before we come back for the next Tandy Fest, which I think is actually me, Brian, and Paul Fiscarelli, if I remember correctly, Mark? Oh.
Yes, in about 25 minutes.
That's good because I have
floppy stuff.
Oh, it's more than that, David. That's just part of it.
I can't wait.
Some of it's hardware, some of it's software. I'll tell you that much.
Creepy.
Oh, don't worry, Nick. I can share later.
And then Nick will sneak on the end to show off his pinball game. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. So you on right after the show, are you?
Well,
top the hour.
Yeah,
Short
4 o'clock.
intermission.
So it'd be 25 minutes from now, roughly.
And do we stay on what do you call it? On Zoom?
No, because we've got a lot to pack in on this one. So I didn't want to have a bunch of guests on live on the actual video because we were going to have to keep this moving. We are going to take a couple breaks for questions in the chat. Just because I do want to have some interactivity, but there's a lot of stuff to cover even in 2 hours. So I don't want to, sometimes, the conversation goes off to the side and off the rails for a bit there. And I don't want to miss anything. I mean, honestly, we could have made it 3 or 4 hours if I went through everything.
We can always follow up later with the CoCo Tech. No, actually, we have to transfer command here because Mark will be shutting down this Zoom and I'll be picking it back up as the CoCo Nation and then streaming from my place. So.
Now, Nick, if you promise not to derail us with weird conversations on the side, we can let you on maybe.
It's all about Neutroid, right?
Yeah. Some people it is.
Wow, he's derailing it before it even starts.
Boy, Neutroid 6, right?
Oh, and I could stay around and give comments on floppies.
Oh gosh.
That's the huge derailment I'm worried about, David. That's why we're doing it with
Okay.
Oh,
chat.
that's okay. I don't need to be on voice.
Should I run the outro now?
Yes, please.
This concludes another episode of the CoCo Nation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCo Nation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCo Nation Show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCo Nation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCo Nation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server. CoCo forever.
Okay. Well, remember, stay tuned to this bat channel for the next
4
Next
hours?
notification. Yeah, next 4 hours.
So what are the next? There's 3 shows, 1 2-hour one and then 2 1-hour ones. What's coming up, Mark?
Yep. So what we got coming up, we've got the CoCo Digital Archiving with L. Curtis Boyle here and Brian Wiesler and Paul Viscarelli. And then after that, we have the FujiNet hour with William Athing and Henry III Bernhardt. And then the last one is going to be Henry Strickland, doing his modern 6309 clone. And he says he's got Nitrous 9 working on it. So it's going to be interesting. 4 hours for your enjoyment.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, everyone. We'll see you all in a while.
All right.